All right, good afternoon, ARB. We're live and recording. You can start.
Okay, thank you very much, LTV. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kathleen Cunningham. It's my privilege to chair the organization, this Architectural Review Board of the Town of East Hampton. I welcome you to our April 6th, 2023 meeting. Happy Passover and Holy Thursday for those of us who celebrate. I'm going to begin this evening just by reading quickly from the purpose of the Town Code 25511-31, which is about berms, fences, and walls, because I think this is a missing piece of information for many of us. With the recent rapid growth of the town has come a proliferation of high berms, fences, and walls, especially in residential areas. While these structures often provide a means for the property owner on which they are located to achieve privacy, the benefits achieved are often outweighed by the public harm done. Note the term public harm. Setbacks, siting of massive or opaque structures close to property lines and roads defeats the light and air bases for required yard setbacks imposed upon other structures. Historic and rural character. The presence of such structures diminishes the visual attributes of the town by obscuring long vistas and views of natural and man-made features basic to the town's character, including historic buildings set close to roads, and by creating a walled-in urban look. Safety, by destroying sight lines and eliminating open areas alongside streets and highways, such structures can make intersections more dangerous, increase the hazard to pedestrians and animals, and create blind driveways wherever they appear. In addition, where legitimate needs for privacy exist due to proximity to streets or other dwellings, for example, it can usually be achieved with hedges, shrubs, or other living fences carrying a little of the negative impact set forth above. It is thus prudent to place restrictions on the size and location of berms, fences, and walls, and to subject certain of the same to a reasonable level of review and scrutiny by local agencies in order to ameliorate the effect which they would otherwise produce individually and collectively on the town. I'm going to thank our council for forwarding that bit to me. I'm sure I've read it before, but it was edifying. Okay, our first order of business, may I have approval of the minutes of March 23rd, 2023? I need a motion, please.
So move.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks. Is Frank with us?
I
Don't see him. I just checked with LTV and they said that he wasn't in the waiting room. You know,
I sent him a thing.
Oh, darn.
So far, it's,
Okay.
Frank is Tara's.
Yeah, Tara, I'm sorry. Frank is your representative. We're just going to go with the East Hampton Historical Farm Museum, and then we'll do you as soon as he joins us. Okay. Nora, do you have any contact information for him? Do you think you can text, bring him up or something? Can somebody?
I'll try
can
to
you
contact
get
him
him?
while we're.
Yeah, because there may be a problem and we wouldn't know. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the East Hampton Historical Farm Storage, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-163-6-31, 25 and 26, 131 North Main Street. I see that Prudence is here. Welcome. And Diane, this is yours.
Yes. This is an application, a proposal for a much-needed shed to house the farm tools and vehicles and various paraphernalia that are on the property at the Farm Museum. Many of which are in a very fragile state right now. And hopefully this shed initiative is the beginning of a reevaluation of the whole farm museum as a museum and as a place, because it's not in very good shape. So Eric, could we see some?
Yep, working on it. Sorry, just a little technical difficulty.
The building has been proposed.
Would you like to go through your photos? Is that?
Yes, please. I mean, they have very good photos of what the shed is to look like. I don't think they've named exactly what they're copying or what this is, but anyway, it looks very appropriate. These are their photos of the proposal of what this shed will look like. It's 587 square feet, and it is more narrow than it is narrower than it is long. And it sets on the back of the property, if you know the Farm Museum at all, over to on the eastern end, there is a what they call a garden. It's fenced off, so it would be beyond this garden. And when they came before us initially, I suggested that there was a grove of trees, some various kinds of cherry trees, I think, basically. And I was hoping that they wouldn't have to remove all of those trees because it was, I thought, part of the nicest part of the property. But the site plan has been approved for, maybe we should see the survey. Yeah, there we are. Okay, so the red rectangle is what is the proposed shed. And it seems to me that where they proposed that they would have to remove at least 3 of these older trees, but I suppose it's the best spot. I mean, anyway, the entire place needs to be cared for, and I assume that building the shed is the beginning of that sort of a rehabilitation of the Farm Museum itself.
Okay, great.
Great.
Prudence, would you like to add? Oh, Brian, Mr. Lester,
That's
welcome.
where it's sort of right there. You see,
Right.
everything is
that
sort of-
area.
Yeah, this
Right
is
there,
this
right?
area
Those
where
are
this
the-
grove of trees are is where it will
So
be.
would it just be right in front of that, or?
No, it's within that area.
They're planning to
There's
remove the trees.
I
right?
have some more pictures. You see where the stockade fence ends, the picture before that, Eric?
I believe it was, nope, not that one. That one. That one?
Okay, that's where it's going to be, where where that little grove of trees are. The property, okay, where that fence ends, the one you just passed over.
Nope, sorry.
Okay, where that fence ends, the property gets larger in the back, but it
Right.
doesn't impede on that. It ends exactly where that fence is, although it's not the end of the property. That's where the building will end. And it's, it seems to me it'll be an improvement. So have you shown the photos of the shed itself?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, so this Brian Lester, Tarbin Lester for the museum. The shed itself is already built, been approved by the town. It's actually the Dory barn, and the town gave us the plans and suggested we use this concept. So that's where it came from. It's already a building existing in the town on town property for purposes. It fits well for us because our carriages that we want to put in there will fit in there well. And the wood structure is the type that will go on that property, be harmonious with the property in the time period that we're depicting there.
so
That's at the
this
Marine
building is going to
Museum.
be moved to
No,
that site?
we're gonna build our
duplicate
own.
it. You're going to
Yes, we'll
duplicate this
duplicate it.
building. Okay.
Right.
Yes, yeah,
Those pictures are the one that's at the Marine Museum, right on.
Yep.
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
We discussed with the planning board at the time, the placement and trying to not disturb any trees,
Mhm.
but also not making it, kind of tuck it in the back there. So our goal is to not, any trees. We'll have that. This is town property.
Right.
I know.
We are only a licensee of buildings, and they're giving us permission to add this building if it gets through all the approvals. So any placement, any trees are going to only be done with town approval
Mhm.
on it. So we're hoping to tuck it in there and not disturb the trees and keep as much.
Well, it seems to me that you're going to have to remove some trees. I mean, I think the addition of this shed is important and a good first step because most of the vehicles and the carriages and the things that are there are almost,
Yep.
I mean, they're very decrepit and they're about
Yeah, we need the shed without a doubt, 100%.
the shed, and
We
I
need the
think the
shed.
shed is in keeping and
If you look at the barn, go in the barn is already filled with materials that people come and visit and look at on a regular basis. Those carriages Some came from the Roy K. Lester, which is a relative of mine, barn down here. We want to preserve these carriages and we need the shed to do so. So
No, it makes perfect sense. I think we were all favorably disposed toward this. We just wanted to see what my one question was whether, are there concrete footings beneath this, or is it
Yeah,
a slab, or how is it?
there's going to be no slab. It's going to be dirt for the inside.
Okay,
There will be footings in order for the poles to concrete footings
Okay,
for the poles, but they'll
okay.
be underground. But inside, you just be walking on dirt.
right. So,
Yeah.
so it won't be, we were just worried about it.
It's on the ground.
Yeah, we were worried about it rotting from, okay.
Yep.
All right, well, that's a good question. Thank you. Now, this is a historic landmark. I'm just trying to review. I think that we've reviewed basically all the guidelines for the site.
So the board
Pardon?
would make a recommendation to the town board that it supports or does not support the proposal.
Yeah, this is comments to planning, right?
No,
Or town board, excuse me, comments to town board. Yeah, okay. All right, but I just want to make sure we're following our own review process here, and I think we have done. And I think, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Lester or anything further for Diane?
No.
Okay,
So
Diane, would you like to make a motion?
Okay, well, I would like to make a motion that we accept this proposal as presented.
Okay, and we'll send favorable remarks to the planning board, and we thank you, and
Yeah.
good luck with it.
I second the motion.
Oh, okay, it's second the motion. I don't know that we need a vote, but yeah. Everybody in favor, I assume? Yeah,
yes.
okay. All right, well, Frank is the missing link. I'm really having, do you have his number?
I thought Chip texted.
I did and
Yeah,
never heard
maybe
back.
somebody can call him. Thank you.
Yeah, I have it, if he's not answering.
Right. Well, he may be, okay. All right, so then should we just do, I feel like I don't want to do Tara's thing.
Too.
Yeah.
Let's just go to.
All right, we'll go to Ocean Surf then. Is Lori here? Oh, good, hi. All right, so Suffolk County Tax Act number 300-50-1-27.1. Yeah, we're skipping over Sylvan because you're the Frank Guittard, who's your representative, is supposed to be zooming in, but he's not here. I'm sorry, I should have explained that. We did, because also yeah, as soon as he's on, because Tara is also waiting for him too. We bumped her up because she's got a family obligation tonight, and for some reason we can't raise Frank. He was having to zoom in because of a medical issue. So sorry, I should have explained that. I'm sorry. So anyway, we're on Ocean Surf. We're just skipping over that. So that's me.
So
And we can we pull that up, please, Eric? This is Sylvan Realty, which will go here. And here's Ocean Surf. The last time we looked at this, the survey indicated that there was fencing along the fence was sort of meandering into the neighbor's yard or vice versa. So that has been corrected with a new survey that was submitted on the 23rd of March. And may have been part of why it wasn't in my packet, because I think it was the day that Julie left. So anyway, but we, and we had, the last time we saw this too, we did not have the owners, the consent form filled out, which has since been remedied. And so our advice was to get the retaining walls in place and then maybe deal with the fence later. But with this new survey, I suppose we can take a look at it. I think the retaining walls are fine. If you could pick up, let's just look at the fence line while we're here. If you can just enlarge that survey a little bit, please, Eric, that would be helpful. Thank you. There we go. The fence in question, if you could just move it so that we can see the west side, there we go. There we go. And it was running, it ran all the way down on the property line, and at one point seemed to wander off the property line onto the neighbor's property, but it seems now to have been properly skewed onto this property line, because there was some question about who even owned the fence last time we were here. So that seems to be remedied, although I don't think that part of the fence is meant to be replaced,
Which part?
the whole stretch down to the ocean.
No,
It's just in the parking area. Yes, right. But part of the problem we were having with the fence initially is that it strayed as it went toward the ocean, which was, a challenge. Okay, so that seems to be fine. We also had some questions about the planters that were in the right of way, and the applicant was able to ascertain from the building department and the
So
highway. Thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
we're not considering, the board isn't going to consider any of the structures that are located within the right of way as part of the application. So the highway department has said that in their view, they do not obstruct traffic. They've been there for 20 years.
Yes. You're taking the words right out of my mouth. That was what I was going to say. So,
But we're not asking to do anything with those structures.
no, but whenever we evaluate a site, any of these things, if there are structures within the right of way, we're duty bound to report them. And if they need to be moved, they're moved, or if they're permitted to stay, in which case these are. So thank you, David, for that concise.
They don't obstruct traffic.
They don't obstruct traffic, so we're not gonna have any problem with them. Even though the three planters and there's a utility and a trash enclosure that are basically all within the right of way. Some portion of the planters you can see by the survey is actually on the property, but the majority of it is within the right of way. But the highway department has sort of signed off on that, so we're okay with that. So now we're on to the retaining walls and the fences. If you could just scroll through what the applicant submitted in terms of this is a good place to start. Thank you, Eric. This is the view of the hotel from across the street. I took a couple of panoramic shots. As you can see, it's a sky blue color. And the day I took these, it was pretty well matching the sky, with white trim, which, has its own coordinated look. The proposal for the retaining walls, even though the retaining walls now have a trellis-like fencing that's, well, at least on that east side there, is falling apart, are to be sandy colored Armor Tech. I have the Sigma Classic wall stones from Cambridge Armor Tech, which is, got a lot of browns and grays, as you can see there. And I don't have any real problem with that. They did supply a sample of the mahogany. They're proposing mahogany on top. And mahogany is a beautiful wood. As a rule, I think mahogany is lovely, but I'm not sure that this brown kind of goes with the blue of the hotel. So, let me welcome your comment, but let me just finish my
Sure.
analysis here. So if you could just scroll through it, it feels a little, it feels like a big contrast to me. And I would never recommend that you paint mahogany white, but I think if you were going to put a fence on there, I might suggest you use a different kind of wood and a different color. So the retaining wall is in desperate need on the east side there, as you can see. My other question, let's just stick on this for a minute, this is looking from the east side retaining wall toward the ocean in a southerly direction. And you can see there's a white gate there. And then there's a piece of plywood that's, I'm sure, just to prevent access to the ocean, that's in between what I think is a neighboring fence and on the property line there heading south. So I would ask the applicant to sort of address that too while you're taking care of these other things.
You had another picture that had a close-up.
Yes, yeah, there's another one that's a close-up photo that I took, but this is in a different, that's just more of me. I went back out and measured it because there it is. Yeah. So it's this little wacky, we got to put something in that space. Let's put this plywood in, kind of a fix.
I'm not sure that's on our property.
Okay. It may not be, but yeah. Okay. We'll take a look at the survey again and see. But anyway, I think the retaining walls are fine. I think that we need to address the, yeah, that's a good close-up, Eric. If you could just show me the the west side, there's a south retaining wall.
You want to just look on the survey or?
I'd like to show you the picture.
The fencing too, though, there's double layers of fencing going towards the ocean, and so there's the same fence and
Yes,
kind of.
yeah, I don't know who's,
The fencing on the west side is presumably theirs.
right, this drifts, yeah, this one does drift off the property according to the survey. The fencing that's,
I'm talking about the board. It's
excuse me?
the board that Lori said that she wasn't sure
Oh,
about the
is-
property.
You think that's not on there?
It is on there.
Oh, okay.
Do, I don't.
All right. Well, anyway, let's not get stuck on that particular thing. It should be addressed. I mean, I would think, it's on top of that wall. So if the fence it's west of that stockade fence that does appear on the survey to be partly on your property, and then it sort of drifts off around in that area from what I can read on the survey. So anyway, but I'd like to go to the other side, to the westerly side, and show the retaining wall and then the fence above that and what's proposed. It's just it's maybe a 8 or 10.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Frank is waiting to be let in.
Okay, Frank is waiting to be let into the meeting. People in LTV.
All right.
I don't
thank you.
know.
He's coming in.
Thank you. Oh, perfect. At long last. Okay, so this is the proposal. This is a roughly 9 or 10 feet stretch in between on the west side of the property, on the west side of the building that abuts the property line to the west. The retaining, whoops,
Sorry. just
that's okay.
show you that.
Yeah. The retaining wall is supposed to be 4 feet high. I measured the distance there, and I think I'm not sure about why you need a fence on top of that, because that's a lot of fencing. I'm sure it's for privacy to a certain degree, but the material that is being held back by that could be accommodated by a 57-inch or 58-inch retaining wall, which is roughly 5 feet. So anyway.
Suggesting we just do retaining wall and no fencing?
Well, yes, I think you can consider it. It just looks so massive there. Anyway, but
On top of the retaining wall.
Mahogany.
well, there's planting or something. Yeah.
Is that still on top of it?
I think there's it's tough to see, but there's kind of hash marks there. It looks like basically saying not to forget about the plants, right? I think it's supposed to be the wall and then mahogany meeting.
Maybe, but
Not gonna be any
But the-
material between the.
the material that exists now, because I measured, see, if you look through the lattice work there is some earthen burmy kind of stuff behind it. So I think they would need at least 58 inches, not at least, but 58 inches of retaining wall should hold back whatever earthen material is there.
58 inches of height in retaining wall?
Yeah, rather than a 4-foot retaining wall, and then maybe not a fence. Because because you're just looking through the fence there. And you would have to climb on the retaining wall to get in the back anyway. It's not like anyhow. Okay, Lori, let's hear from you. I think I've gone on enough. Frank, welcome.
So, the first point being, when you look at these images that have been created kind of by the builder, they're showing a much darker wood than what would be the case once it's weathered, which is that sample that we gave to you. And that's much lighter
Okay.
than what's being shown here. It's much less contrast to the wall itself.
Okay, so you're not proposing to cover this with anything? It would just weather and the,
To end up looking like that.
So it wouldn't, well, if it weathers, mahogany can go gray, like grayish. So
It'll probably get
yeah.
lighter than that even.
Yeah.
Exactly, which is my point. It's
Okay.
not going to be a dark brown wall. I
Okay.
understand your point.
yeah, no, it just looked like, these images look like they're coated with some kind of finishing and also like shiny too, not just,
That's
yeah,
not the
okay.
intention.
I didn't understand it to be, it didn't say on the application that it was meant to be weathered. So,
Yes,
okay, did it?
Yes, it did.
I don't remember
Yep,
seeing
and in the
that.
narrative. Mhm.
Okay, all right, well, that's good to know.
yeah, left natural, even on the.
Oh, there you go. Okay, well, fair enough.
Mhm.
So did you have any other comments? Lori?
I guess it sounds like you're okay with the retaining wall and its
Yes.
material.
Yes,
Maybe wanting it to be taller on that southwest corner.
I think it would be,
The fencing perhaps.
I think that would be advantageous. I mean, I think you're going to need it taller because my measurements in the field were that there's
Earth behind
there's
it.
stuff there. Yeah,
Mhm.
there's something you need to actually retain.
Mhm.
And then let's just talk about the fence on the west side too, because there's that, it's roughly 9 feet, I think,
Only at one point.
at that tall peak.
Where the
Yeah,
stair is, yep.
yeah,
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
And that would all be mahogany,
Weathered mahogany.
weathered mahogany. Yeah, I mean, I have a better feel about that now, but it looks so shiny in these pictures.
It'll be shiny for a week and then
Yeah.
it'll be dull.
Yeah.
Especially on the sea.
Yeah.
It will be gray and no.
And these are horizontal slats. And is that there's a little vertical thing in there? Is that just a weird cut and paste? It's like is it some kind of a support?
Well, yeah, there's a board behind it.
But it doesn't go does it go all the way down? Yeah, I guess it does.
I don't think you
Okay,
would see it.
yeah.
There's
Okay.
a couple of seams.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I expect there would be some seams, but I couldn't tell what that vertical piece was. Okay, well, does the board, do you have anything else to add, Lori?
No.
Does the board have any other questions?
No.
So I'm jumping in a little late and I apologize to the board. There was an error about the link of me, and I am familiar with this application because it came before us previously.
Right.
To me, I'm fine with the materials. To me, it just seems kind of awkward compositionally how these planes come together, particularly the triangular one, and then there's the long one, and it turns 90 degrees. I was wondering if the applicant had considered perhaps using maybe it to kind of break it, to make it look like it's not such a jarring break, maybe use vertically oriented boards. Like if you rotated the boards at the stair 90 degrees and then ran the boards horizontally from there, or at the at the clad wall, do something a little different where it isn't so apparent that things don't align.
That's a good suggestion. Do you follow his reasoning, Lori? Yeah.
I just think architectural, it just looks like, I hate to use this term, but it just looks like a mistake. And there are ways design wise to correct that where it looks more intentional and not like, well, we weren't able to align it, so sorry.
So, well, if the applicant were to agree to just use a taller retaining wall on that southwest portion,
Right.
then that would eliminate the mahogany on top of it, which may be the disconnect that you're seeing.
Well, that and also the stairs are kind of awkward, that triangular piece hanging there.
Yeah, I think that that triangular piece from the top of the where it protrudes is as an element seems a little rogue. I think the vertical boards on that piece would be an improvement. Just in terms of the eye.
And just pulling it out just like an inch from the horizontal, it'll look like it.
Oh yeah.
That'll just kind of in a different plane and a different element.
That's a good idea. What do you think?
Make it look intentional rather than.
Then I mean, I know you're replacing something that currently exists, but I think
Correct.
this is a good suggestion. I think it would look nicer. What do you think, Diane?
I agree with Frank's suggestion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Chip?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so then we have some things to discuss with the client on the southwest and the western wall,
Right.
but we have a collapsing retaining wall to the
Yes.
east.
Yes.
Can we just get a partial approval for that? And we'll come back with you after discussing these elements with the applicant for the southwest and the western walls.
I think we can condition an approval, can't we, David? What do you think about that? I mean, I'd like to see them be able to get that eastern wall remedied before the season starts. And
Starting soon, and it's a safety issue.
yeah, no, I get it.
Wall on the eastern side?
Yeah, it's the one that that trellis is it's all tumbling into the parking lot on that easterly side. But then could you address that plywood thing and that
Back with that too.
gate?
But
Yeah,
that's
okay.
not really
Okay.
respecting our collapse.
Okay, all right. Because part of my suggestion when you were last here was just to maybe segment these out so you could get the retaining walls built and,
But we don't know how tall it's going to be in the southwest, so let's just deal with the east.
right. Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
Go back to the survey and then we can,
yes, please.
kind of mark it.
So we have to inquire about this and inquire about this and inquire about piece of plywood over here.
Right.
This wall is falling in.
Yeah,
This is the one we would like to address
Right.
immediately,
right.
and get approval for, and then
Yes.
we'll come back to you with these.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Is the board okay with that?
Yes.
So it should be is the whole retaining wall failing,
Yeah, if you can go back to the picture.
Pretty much,
I want
yeah.
to refer to it on the
Mhm.
resolution, the survey. That's the double red line. It says
Yeah, that's it.
Right to the stockade fence.
Yeah.
This gate is the stockade fence.
Now, would we be approving only the masonry portion or also the mahogany top portion?
Let's just do the masonry and we'll deal with all the mahogany at the same time because they'll have to come back to put the fencing in anyway. Is that okay with you, Lori?
Yes.
That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So what's the date of the survey?
The date of the survey is March 23rd, 2023, 24th, excuse me, 2023. So that was really the hang up is the survey, had to be remedied. All right. So I'd like to make a motion that we accept the proposal for the rebuilding of the retaining wall on the eastern boundary of this property and defer the other elements until the applicant can get back to us with design details
Oops.
As depicted on the
as
survey.
depicted on the survey. Thank you, council. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thanks, Lori. Good luck. Okay, Tara. Dun, 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 dun. All right, Frank, you're up.
Okay, which one?
Tara, we're doing Tara. We're doing 19 Fieldview first because Tara's got a
Got it.
play.
All
Okay.
right. Okay, if you could bring up the, let's prep the proposed survey and the architectural drawings and renderings. I think the renderings are a good place to start. Those are the architectural drawings, but there were renderings that were sent with the previous drawing package that are pretty informative. There we go. Okay. So this is an application to build a new residence on an undeveloped lot on Fieldview Lane, which is a quiet street off Cedar Street. This comes under our purview because it abuts an agricultural overlay, though it's not in the agricultural overlay. The applicant is proposing a new residence with a garage, covered and uncovered decks, and an elevated pool with pool deck. The house is organized as a two-story bedroom wing separated by an entry hall that connects to a one-story main living space with cathedral ceiling. The two-story volume is equal to the two-story volume hits the building's maximum allowable height. The roof peaks in the front part of the house facing the street are at the building pyramid, both the upper and lower roof, whereas the roof lines on the side and rear yards are set comfortably back from the pyramid limit. The house is to be clad in vertical cedar with the lower roof being natural cedar shingles and the upper roof being standing seam metal roof. All of the wood is to be weathered naturally. There is architectural metal surrounding the windows as well. One area which I would ask the applicant to clarify is the material surrounding the pool and the pool deck. Here's the summary of the house's GFA and coverage. GFA, and this is above ground, GFA is 5,656. Let me go to, let's go on this page. So maximum, you can see at the bottom, proposed GFA is 5,656 square footage. Maximum allowable is 5,913. Building coverage proposed here is 6,421. Maximum allowable is 6,594. Lot coverage proposed here, 13,443. Allowable, 17,252. I was not able to walk around the property as it is not developed and thus overgrown, though I did see it from the street. Overall, I find this house quite elegant architecturally, with a natural material palette that will weather nicely over time. The roof lines evoke the barn structures and sheds of this area, but are not modern barn that we see so often these days under construction. The composition of the two roof lines also break the volume up well. I do suspect that the house is massing at the front of the lot facing the street, where the roof lines are at the pyramid limit, may raise some questions by the board. As stated previously, I would like to know more about the massing and materials of the pool area, as this was not rendered and drawn to the extent that other areas of the building are. At this point, I think it would be good to hear from the applicant.
Okay, thanks a lot, Frank. Tara?
Great. I just wanted to just give you a couple of photos, and I emailed them too, right? So.
Okay. Okay. Generally, we don't do this at the meeting because it means they're not available to the public, you know.
Well, you can just look at them then, or I can show you, however.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, he has them. I just emailed him to him when I found
Yeah,
out he wasn't going to be here tonight. So let's start sort of describing the project to you and the setting. So good afternoon, Chairwoman Cunningham and members of the board. I'm Tara Burke, here on behalf of the owners of 19 Fieldview Lane. Here with me are Kyle McCardle and Nile Oza of Oza Sabbath Architects. Before the architects come to the podium to discuss the architectural elements of our proposal, I'd like to discuss the setting of the parcel with the board and the uniqueness of this application in the scope of the Architectural Overlay District Review. The subject property, 19 Fieldview, is situated on the north side of Fieldview Lane. As Frank mentioned, the property is not located within the Agricultural Overlay District, but rather abuts one of 4 significantly developed estate properties from a subdivision to the north within the Ag Overlay. Because it abuts Ag Overlay, it is subject to agricultural review. And then I just ask you to direct your attention to the map submitted that illustrates the Ag Overlay District, and then our parcel, which abuts it. And here are the 4 developed lots up above. Properties that abut agricultural overlay are typically transition zones. They're not situated within the district. Typically, they are not abutting agricultural vistas, but rather abut other parcels that are developed within the ag overlay. This is the case with this property. In my mind, because this is the case, they can be looked at with a lesser degree of scrutiny than a parcel within ag overlay, and especially a property that directly abuts agricultural vistas or settings. If you look at the aerial photo I've just given you, you see that this property is sandwiched between estate-style properties on the rear and on both sides. Across the street is a vacant lot with a developed parcel behind it that then abuts ag land. The closest agricultural parcels and vistas are well to the north, east, and west, none of which are in proximity to this parcel, and most require traversing the yards of several neighboring parcels on either Fieldview Lane or Roberts Lane to access agricultural lands. I think it's important to keep the setting of the property in mind with respect to these elements. I would imagine that a property that directly abuts ag land, for example, something south of the highway in Wainscott next to an expansive farm field, or even something directly on Long Lane next to a farm field, will be looked at with a different degree of scrutiny than this property for harmoniousness with agricultural lands. I'd also like to know the origin of the parcel. And I think a key piece here is the wooded buffer directly in front of the parcel. It was created as part of the 1976 subdivision, the Fields of East Hampton. As part of that subdivision approval, this property, along with the majority of the properties on the north side of Fieldview Lane, were approved as flag lots with approximately 50-foot reserved area in front of each lot. This property has such a reserved area in the front. The reserved areas are created not only for open space preservation, but also to buffer the development from the road in keeping with the rural character of the community. In contrast, the properties on the other side of Fieldview do not have reserved areas and all development is visible from the street. I call your attention to 2 of the submitted photographs of 14 and 16 Fieldview, which are right across the street. These 2 parcels are just to the south of the subject property and were subject to ARB review. Both lots directly abut agricultural land. You notice from the photos submitted that both of these houses, although beautiful, have significant massing. The photos are taken from the street. The house proposed tonight will have significantly less massing visible from the road, especially with the buffer of reserved area between the development and the road. And I've submitted a photograph from the street of that wooded area in front of the lot that will forever remain. This property is truly tucked away and sandwiched between very developed estate lots and a vegetative reserve area to remain in perpetuity. In reviewing the application, I ask you to kindly keep one section of the code in mind as it relates to your review. Section 255 760A1, under the standards and criteria for architecture review board review, note that the board shall not preclude from taking into account the use district in which a new or altered structure is proposed to be placed and the relative visibility of the structure to the general public, and may draw distinctions in its review of approval of structures based on material differences in the locations of such structures. And with that, unless you have any questions for me, I'd like to have the architects come up to address Frank's concerns.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clarification, I wouldn't say these are concerns as they are just questions.
So, Chairwoman Cunningham, thank you for your consideration, members of the board.
Welcome.
we
Could
can-
you just give your name for the record, please, sir?
Yes, it's Nilay Oza from
Okay.
Oza Sabbath Architects.
Welcome, Mr.
Um,
Oza.
While I recognize this is also a consideration you're making, there are some minor changes to the rendering, so I'd like to just present to you.
You know what? We're not going to take those at this meeting. Thank you. You can submit them to Julie or to Nora at the
a problem.
Architectural Review
I'll-
Board office. We don't, as I explained to Tara, even with these submissions, which were very helpful, our meetings are
Understood.
viewed by the public, and we want the public to have what we have.
Totally
And we
understand.
need more time to evaluate any changes.
totally
We can't do it in the moment. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I can walk through those changes. They're
Mhm.
fairly easy
Okay.
to recognize.
Okay.
So first, I'd like to just address the idea of massing.
Mhm.
Massing not just of the pool, but of the main house as well.
Mhm.
We approached this exercise with our clients with the idea that we were on a property on a road that was called Field View. And that aspect of the design was salient in actually coming up with the final version of the house that you see right now. We had multiple versions of this design that was laid out on the site, which we call figure grounds, that were a lot more, I'm just going to say, complex. There were massings that were sort of staggered. And we finally approached this design with the singular purpose that it was a long block that looked over the field that it itself created.
Mhm.
So we took this site and made it into a field. Importantly, as you mentioned in your build-up, the building doesn't actually create an urban boundary, thereby creating a private backyard. It sits on the site in a sidelong manner, such that the backyard is in fact visible from the street. It is for this reason that the pool, in fact, is set way back so that it doesn't become a privacy issue. To answer Frank's question, the pool is raised, and it would be a negative edge. So you'd see water running down on the field side, so to speak, and the material would be a light color travertine or something similar. So not to absorb light. That's the portion of the pool. In addressing the question of the pyramid, the one thing that we did do is present the smallest possible face of the building to the street. If you wouldn't mind pulling up the initial rendering, there's something I would like to clarify from the street side, the one prior to this. Yep, no, the one prior to that one. Yeah, so this view, just to be clear, because this was actually intended for our clients, actually shows the view of the house at the point at which you've already crossed the buffer. This is not technically a street view. The buffer is sort of behind your left shoulder in this particular view.
Mhm.
So the house, while granted, it is kind of up against the setback lines, there is a giant 50-foot section of trees that is not actually visible on this. And therefore, the house is technically set back by that amount from the street itself. Just want to clarify that if that is a
Okay,
question.
thank you.
Now to the minor changes that have come about in this design. The roof on the second floor, as Frank also mentioned, is actually a metal roof.
Metal
A
roof?
metal roof. It's
Okay.
a standing seam roof. Two reasons. One is that we have to put in a solar system.
Okay.
And my client would actually like to upsize the solar system. In fact, to try and see if possible to put a Tesla roof on it. Tesla roofs, solar roofs have become more available, but they've had problems sort of in sourcing them. We've now begun to see that they've been are starting to be sourced and installed on the east end. So we'd like the roof itself to be a solar receptacle, so to speak.
Mhm.
So there would be no panels like you conventionally see, but it would be a kind of a black shingle on the upper roof.
Mhm.
Therefore, the stand-in is a dark metal roof, which is not clear in this rendering. That is
No,
what I
that's,
wanted to
yes, I
clarify.
understand.
Yeah, other than that,
How many kilowatts will that roof generate?
what we are required to do for the energy code is 8 kilowatts,
Mhm.
but I believe we're going to try and exceed that by a fair degree, 12 to 16 at the very
Okay.
least.
Did you say 16?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Actually, that does raise one question, which there might be a good answer to this, which is the owner intend to put in a generator? Or do you know?
I don't know that, Frank. I can confirm that.
Okay, just curious.
It could even be if we did the Tesla panels, obviously there would just be the Tesla packs.
I mean, that would be great if they could.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the Tesla what?
They're battery
Packs.
packs.
Packs. Yeah, I didn't understand the word. Yeah. Okay. Well, that would be, it would be interesting. I would be interested to get more information on those Tesla panels. I once worked in the renewable energy and
I see.
sustainable energy field. So, and there were these roof shingles, solar roof shingles have
Yes.
been a long time in coming.
Yes, yes.
So it'd be interesting to see that and also to get the idea of the color because that'll
Yes, they
be
tend to be
relevant
dark.
to our. Yeah, no,
like
I know
dark
because of
gray.
the silicone. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Oza or Frank at this point, or do you just want to give some initial feedback? Because I think with the changes in the submission, we'll be taking another look at this again. We won't be deciding on it tonight, but I think maybe the roof line, the pyramid.
I do think this 50-foot buffer as it relates to the pyramid, we're not talking about basically a street then. We're not talking about a street lot. We're talking a flag lot,
Right.
I think it would help. One thing would be a dimension from for where the building starts. We could scale this, but it'd be helpful to know how many feet from the street the building starts.
Mhm.
That's one.
Yeah, it could be about almost 100 feet, Frank, or
Okay.
80, but we can get that.
So
for you.
50 feet more from the buffer?
It shows there's a dimension line there.
Yeah.
The
I'm
the
going to
width
ask a
of
question
the
about that.
flag strip portion there is just over 40
Right.
feet, 42 feet.
Oh, okay.
And the distance setback illustrated here is 22 feet. So you have 64 feet.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
So
Well,
Plus
that's,
and then the distance to the asphalt. Okay.
Yeah.
right. Now, who maintains the easement? Is it an easement or is it a scenic easement? What
It's
is
actually
the?
set up as a separate parcel
Uh-huh.
that was set up as a reserved area essentially, and it's owned by the town.
Okay, so the town is responsible for maintenance there.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Well,
sure.
The reserved area actually has typically more protection, right, than the
Right.
scenic easement because
Right.
it's owned by the town
Right.
versus by the property owner.
Right.
So this is something that's not theirs, they can't touch, and
Right.
it goes along that whole street.
Right, that was the thrust of my question is who's maintaining it, who's in charge of it? Because, foliage has a lifespan and,
Right.
so we want to I think if the town is in charge of it, then we have some hope of it, if things need to be revegetation or something to maintain that look, that buffer, that the town is in charge of it. I'm not sure what our re-veg positions are in these instances, but
Here, this
Eric
is what,
can,
this is what it looks like. No one's taking care of it at all.
yeah, no, I understand, but I'm saying, if you use the southern pine beetle as an example, you drive down 114, there's
Yeah.
plenty of town land and those forests are devastated. So somebody's got to maintain, if something happens to those oaks, then who's in charge? And it's the town. That's really all I want to know. So, that's
Well, I think it's also,
Important
that's a
piece.
consideration also, though, with how this house is sited so close to that, that parcel. I mean, I think it's a little close for my
Mhm.
perspective. I was also curious if and we don't have the benefit of this right now, but whether there were any CNRs with regard to this subdivision that we needed to.
Yeah, I don't know. Eric
Have
was going to
any-
check into that for us. I don't know if he had a chance to do that.
Mhm.
No covenants
No.
and restrictions on this. Okay. Well, always important to know.
Field view, the whole area has become sort of an architecturally, like the new East Hampton statement.
Mhm.
I think that looks, I think Frank used the word elegant. I think it looks beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've looked at this neighborhood a lot. There's
Yeah, a
a
lot.
lot of construction. Some of them are traditional Georgian reproductions. We've got some of the neighboring houses here in front of us. This is a particularly elegant house.
I think so too.
I think the design is great. I wish it wasn't quite so high. I think I would like to think we weren't maxing it out at the very tippy top of the pyramid law.
And
Um,
the GFA also, actually.
Yeah, the growth area is big, but they're within, I still think I'm okay with the design. But I wish that it wasn't quite so tall. Because I think even though we won't be seeing it from the street, that the neighboring properties will see it, it's,
But I certainly would prefer to see the height,
no, I understand.
because we're only seeing, as Neela said, correctly, like the short end of it.
Right.
If you took this house and chopped it and turned it in half, which you often what I do find really appealing about the overall scheme is, as Neela said, is it's kind of a rebuttal to I don't know if it's a rebuttal, but I would say it's like sort of a rebuttal and challenge to the typical development where you put the massing
Right.
kind of towards the front of the street and try to pull it as wide as you can to the side yards to create a privacy zone in back. And in a way, this kind of embraces the front yard.
Yeah, it's the field concept. I get that. I take that from this and I appreciate that. I think it's, my only real hesitation with it is how high that one piece is, but I could be convinced. So, but we're not voting on this today. Does anybody else have any more feedback for the applicant, or do you have any further questions for us, sir?
I'm okay. So we'll come back next month with just some updates based on
Well,
what we find out.
submit your changes through the normal procedure, and then we'll get you back on as soon as we can. As you know, it's not always a rapid process, but
Okay.
we'll do the best we can.
I do have a couple of questions or comments for Neely about these renderings. One is, if you scroll down, if you submit it again, not that one, keep going, this one. To the left of the fireplace, it appears that there's some massing there. Is that true?
The left of the fireplace, Frank, you're actually seeing the edge of the pool.
But beyond it, there's something that's much taller than the pool.
Looks like a
Oh,
wall.
yes, no, that is not there. Good catch.
Okay,
Yeah,
then
yeah,
so don't
that is
render
not
that.
there.
Not there.
Yep.
There's no there.
There's no there.
And the other one would be, I would just suggest, yes, from this one, I would just say you're welcome to render this as it might appear from the street.
Yep.
so we get a sense of the scale of this from the street, not necessarily once you enter the lot.
That's a good idea.
Yep, will do.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Break a leg. Okay. All right. Next up is happy holidays. Let's see. Sylvan Realty. We're jumping all over the place today. Suffolk County Tax Net number 300-161-4-9. I see Mr. Whalen is present, and our friend Frankie. I can't remember your last name. Frank Young. Thank you. Okay. This is also Frank Guittards. And so we will let our Frank speak first. And
yeah, I'm just going to introduce. Good afternoon, everyone. Richard Whalen, attorney for the applicant Sylvan Realty from Whalen Filer PLLC. I'm just here in case there's trouble. So I'm going to let Mr. Campione, who's the
Got a
architect, the designer.
bucket ready to put out the fire. Huh?
Deal with you. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for being present and
Make good trouble.
well, yeah, good trouble. Yeah, we're just like John
That's the
Lewis.
introduction I wanted. this evening.
Okay. Well, we're going to let Frank Guittard speak first, sir. And then we'll ask you for any questions or comments. Okay. Thank you. Okay, Frank, our Frank,
Okay.
you're on.
Okay. Again, this is an application to modify a commercial building, currently a one-story building that is El Turco Restaurant. This application proposes to renovate and expand the existing building to become a 17,197 square foot mixed-use commercial building. My understanding is this applicant is proposing the following: a 6,881 square foot ground floor, of which nearly all appears to be commercial retail space and supporting. The ground floor will expand southwards into the parking lot, of which there will be 48 parking spaces in what is currently a gravel parking lot. A new second story of what appears to be 4,961 square feet to be mixed-use office and residential space. Part of the second floor sits outside of the first floor footprint on the south side of the parking lot, creating a colonnade at the ground floor commercial level. This application last came before the board in January. At the time, there were some rather significant architectural changes to the facade and details from our first review in October. In our January hearing, this board had provided feedback on the design, its biggest concern being the mass and scale, both in actual scale and massing, and the visual impact of this massing and scale. The applicant has come back with some changes to the facade, best seen in comparing page 13 of this application with the January submission. This board requested that the applicant consider greatly reducing the field of white at the colonnade and the tower and to eliminate the balustrade at the top of the building. The applicant has made all of these changes at our request. Overall, it seems this applicant has made good efforts to respond to this board's concerns about visual mass and scale over the past two submissions. However, the applicant should be aware that members of this board have expressed serious concerns about the overall massing and scale of this building. The applicant has not made any changes to the overall building program in square footage since the original application. The changes have only been how this mass and scale is visually expressed. I have some questions about the application, but I would like the applicant to address this board and give their thoughts on this most recent submission now.
Okay, thanks, Frank. Welcome, Mr. Young.
Campione.
Campione, sorry.
That's okay. Good evening. Nice to see you again. If you remember, we did come in October. We came back in January, made some significant changes at that time, took copious notes, and each time we try to get closer and closer, hopefully third time's a charm. At the last meeting, Mr. Guittard noted, yes, he did discuss the mass and scale. The last time also he had said it was a good effort to explain the architecture relative to the scale. Asked that the widow's walk be removed, the stone base could be removed, lower the tower, appreciated that we added the cedar shakes, the white trim was fine, and to reduce the white bands. So we have reduced the white bands throughout the elevation. We removed the widow's walk. We have indeed lowered the tower. We did not eliminate the stone base, as we just feel that's a better, more durable material at the base of the building than taking the cedar all the way down. But we did take the cedar all the way down on the columns. So the colonnade out in the front, you'll see the cedar come down, but up against the building itself, we've left the stone, and the stone is depicted on the material board, which is part of the package. Mr. Ray started his comments as favorable to the redesign. He liked the use of the pane windows on the second level and the shutters. However, he did not like the white tower. I'll say affectionately calling it the Tanger Tower. He also noted that although the word tenant may meet the requirements of the sign ordinance, he considered the entire white IFAS area, which is Drive It, as sign, and as such, the sign ban was too large. So in keeping with that, we removed the white feature entry tower altogether. We changed the entire front facade to be cedar shake, downplaying the entry, which protrudes approximately 6 to 12 inches from the plane of the facade and only highlighted by the white trim board. We removed the entire white Drive It sign area, and we provided code compliant signage, which will be fastened to the fascia and illuminated with gooseneck lighting. Ms. Benson agreed with the comments made by Ms. Cunningham and Mr. Ray, appreciated the changes and cited what is currently there is an eyesore and that we're trying to improve it. We couldn't disagree more. I mean, we couldn't agree more. Ms. Leone was also favorable. Tower bothered her as well, suggested the change in color and reduce the sign area, which we also have done. There was a request that we include a site section showing the topos from the road and its relationship, our site relationship to 3 Mile Harbor. That is provided one of the first few sheets now in the 30-page booklet, page 4. You'll see the site section and our building, which shows the parapet height at 29 feet above 0, but you can see it's only a 28-foot exposure from the street. If you scroll up to page 4, there you go. So that had been requested of us because our site actually dips down, and I'm not sure I'd call it a berm, but out on 3 Mile Harbor Road, it's actually higher. And then we were asked to update all the CG renderings that we had handed in, which we didn't know we couldn't do at the last meeting. So those have all been included. I can speak to the massing of the building. We're getting conflicting requests. Planning board wants apartments as part of the second floor. That was not originally part of the program prior to when I was the architect, and they have been added to the program at the request of planning. They don't help us with regard to rent, and they don't help us with regard to the cost of construction. They're actually quite costly to include, and the dollars to include them are not offset by the rent that we'll get from those apartments. But we need your help, because if we're going to reduce the size of the building, we're going to get rid of the apartments. And planning does not want to get rid of the apartments. We can't build this building if the square footage is any less than what we're proposing for the retail and the office, because that's where we're going to make the money in order to support the reconstruction of this building. So the owner has advised to me that if we are indeed going to be forced to reduce the mass, it's going to be at the loss of the 2 apartments. Planning has to get together with ARB on that one, because one hand wants us to keep the building this side and one hand doesn't.
Okay. Did you have anything else?
That's it as far as the architecture.
Okay, well, at this point, because I know that there's going to be a public hearing, I think, next week on this application before the planning board, and we wouldn't be approving this in advance of the site plan approval. We don't do that. So we'll just be offering you comments today. And with any luck, there'll be some public feedback next week that can help inform both agencies' decisions regarding this. I want to thank you for taking such careful notes and making all the adjustments you have done. This is far superior to anything that's been submitted before. And I think you've done a fine job interpreting our concerns and addressing them in architectural ways that I think are much more pleasing and much more palatable. I think the basic problem that most of us that live in this community are having with this is the second story in and of itself. This is an area that was called Freetown. There are very modest buildings there. And at 2 stories, even though I know it's probably within your right to do, is a lot to, it's a lot to take, I think. I think that's part of our the stumbling block here. But I think you've done a great job taking our comments and working within the framework that your client has provided you and the feedback that this board has given you. I have a little bit of a question. I was on the planning board when this application first came to us, so I've seen it from its very original, which was surprising and colorful. But I'm the part of the problem I have is that the property is already completely developed to every corner. And this rendering illustrates a grass verge and some landscaping, even though I know this isn't really our purview specifically, but the look of it is. It doesn't, I don't see how that, I know the property and it feels like that looks a little more expansive. And if this was how it would come out in the real building, I'd be like, oh, this looks great. But I don't feel that that's an accurate representation of the property as it is now. So this looks good, but I don't think it's doable. I'm not sure what the dimensions are for that grass verge and for those lower bushes that are landscaping there. I think that's a really good suggestion. It's a really good idea, but when I look at the survey and the site plan, I don't see the spaces proportional in this same way. Yes.
The rendering is 100% accurate down to the type of trees we're showing, which was selected by the site civil engineer.
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was say if we could bring up the site photos, just to Kathy's point, I was wondering about that with listen, I don't want to be too critical of renderings, but I do. Yeah,
maybe you can enlarge that a smidge.
Yeah, it does seem to me part of the thing that's always concerned me about this application has been, even though I realize we're not adding a second story.
That's good. Thanks.
Yeah, it's there. It's like we're adding massing to something that's pretty close to the road.
Right.
And in a way, you don't realize how much space is there to the right of the lot that is being developed here. It's really like how it kind of is aggressive to the road, and then that's the existing building. So, I also want to say that I understand the applicant's frustration with our ARB and just with being asked to reduce, where is the reduction in program going to come from? If we're asking to reduce the second floor, there are trade-offs. So,
right. Thanks for that comment, Frank. I guess this is the paved area that we're seeing here. Is that what you're thinking is the grass verge?
Yeah. If you go to page 11, you'll see an enlarged property plan, which also depicts in light gray the existing building and then the footprint of the new.
Right. Could we just look at this for a minute though, because it feels to me like that's part of the right of way, that your landscaping appears to be in part of the right of way.
I believe it is. I think it's outside of the property line, and what Site Civil has shown is that will all be grassed in.
So you're proposing to landscape the right of way?
No, definitely not. Clarify that issue was dealt with at the planning board. The right of way, all the grass within the right of way, and you can see the parking comes fairly close to the edge.
It comes very close. Yeah, that's.
County will not. I should introduce myself again. Richard Whalen, again, the attorney for the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Whalen.
Anything within the right of way, we're not allowed to touch by Suffolk County, other than the driveways going in and out. So there'll be no landscaping there. The landscaping is the shrubbery, which I think was shown accurately on the rendering, and that will be between the parking spaces. We have about 3 or 4 feet there between the parking spaces and the property line. So any grass beyond that, so that's probably what the shrubbery will probably grow to look like that. But everything to the left, that grass, as far as the existing pavement, will just remain as it is. We can't do anything there.
Right, but presently it isn't grass; it's just dirt, right? I mean, there's grass to the south of the entry.
There? I think it's grass.
If you look at the picture, I mean, I know it's winter, but that looks sort of dirt pavey to the left of the entry?
But on the right, there's
That,
grass.
on the right, there's grass, but to the left, aren't we, isn't the part that we're looking at, the piece that I'm questioning is not to the right, it's not on the southerly part of the entrance, it's to the north of the entrance where you see here, there's, I don't know what those white planters are or something, and there's that
They're against the
fence and
building.
so on. But it's that area in between the road and the property line there, which is very hard to distinguish. And the way it's illustrated on the one elevation, it looks as though, and there's no grass there now.
So we will revegetate, I don't know,
It's a parking lot now.
we'll revegetate it on our property. In fact, that show, first of all, you can see there is a driveway access there. The property, when completed, will only have one ingress egress, which is at the southwest corner. So that does have to be, at least within our property, the asphalt there will all be removed and there is landscaping there. I don't have the landscaping plan here, but that, that driveway will be gone and planted, and also to the
I
left
see.
of that will be
Okay.
planted. I don't know if we can do anything, again, as far as I know, asphalt within the right of way of the Three Harbor Road. I don't know that we can even remove that and grass it.
No, it's been a real problem because I remember on planning board, the original, they were going to have a truck delivery thing, and there was like there were a lot of problems, and the county wouldn't permit it. But just so I'm clear, because I didn't really understand that till just now, I think that the entrance and egress is going to be one driveway, and it will be south. So
That's where it is.
Yeah.
right, but but
here.
in terms of I understand, but I'm trying to relate it to the present.
Yeah,
configuration,
let's look
which
at that
is-
one.
Yeah.
That seems to be the most-
Where is the, leave this up. This would be helpful. So the present ingress and egress is north of this illustration. That's the current.
Right, that will be the only ingress egress. You do remember then, Kathy, there had been the original plan, there was a proposed truck loading.
Right.
That's completely out of the picture.
No, I understand, but that's why I understand the problems with the right of way, and that's why I'm bringing up these landscaping issues, because it appears to me from what I'm looking at that you're proposing landscaping the right of way, and I don't think that's
No,
going to be
we-
permissible.
We are not and
Yeah,
cannot.
I understand, but I'm just trying to relate, because it looks to me, this is the proposed entrance. The existing entrance is a little north of this, is it not?
No, I believe it's
No?
in that, we might be widening it very slightly.
One?
No,
There's
the
a-
whole
there's
thing is an
a,
entrance now.
There's an egress, there's a
Okay.
driveway there.
All right. Can we go back to the photo, please, Eric? Yeah, perfect. Wow. You're amazing.
Got it all.
So I thought I understood you just to say, Rick, that the entrance that we see now is going to be landscaped and mitigated, and that there's going to be an entrance further south.
Right.
You
Probably
can go to, if you
somewhere
go to
here.
page 3 in the actual presentation, there are photographs looking south, photographs looking.
Okay, that's
and a-
good.
And an existing plot plan.
The whole thing is a parking lot now.
Well, I understand that, but
Currently are able to actually come in.
there it is. I see it. Yeah, it's to the right. Yeah. So there's two, yeah.
coming in.
So you're maintaining that southerly one. Okay, okay.
Mhm.
All right. And the elevation that we were looking at, where I was concerned about the grass verge, is illustrative of this entrance. Okay.
It's
Mhm.
hard with the renderings. Also, you don't have the utility
Perspective,
poles.
yeah,
You don't have
right.
like
Yeah, the other,
all the other bits and pieces of this.
right. Okay.
It's so squeezed in there. though, I
Mhm.
still
What I
feel.
asked them to show is that currently, that's the entrance that you're looking at when you're that close here, and you can see how wide it is right in front, and you're thinking of this area that's not, I'll use the term landscape or grass. The entrance that we're showing in the rendering is the one that.
Yeah, I understand that now.
And that's the existing grass area.
I understand that now. Yes, thank you. The site plan helped with that. And that second photo that Eric pulled up was helpful.
In your renderings, you make this driveway and this parking lot appear totally flat. There's got to be a grade change there of about 6 or 7 feet. are you going to build this up so it is totally flat?
It's not 6 or 7 feet. If you go to the building/site section on page 4,
Yeah.
you can see the architectural elevation is at 0, 0. The grade in the middle of the property where it dips down, where we're parking, is -1 foot 10.
All right, so it's about 2 feet.
But there's a huge, when you look at this property, it drops down tremendously. So you must be filling something in there. I mean, these renderings appeal totally flat. They cannot be totally flat.
The renderings are accurate. They're computer generated from the grades given to us by the site
So
civil
if it,
engineer.
but I,
And the berm or the grade difference, which you asked us to actually show,
right,
is indicated from the convertible that's parking head in, looking back towards
right.
3
We
Mile
see that
Harbor
dip
Road.
there.
And that's a -9 from the 0, 0 of the building. What we were not able to ascertain is actually the middle of 3 Mile Harbor. We don't have spot elevations of the middle of that road.
Okay. I
But
mean,
we
I
had
think,
it at the curb line.
okay, I think the job you've done is remarkable. It's really come a long, long way. I mean, when you look to the neighbors who live on 3 Springs Fireplace Road, though, you show bucolic trees and none of these houses that are going to be right up against this property line. So this rendering is not accurate. I mean, these people's backyards are going to be in the side of this building.
Those trees are accurate.
Yeah, but you don't have any of the
taking them
buildings
from
there that are
Google.
there. Those
You mean
people,
off Jackson and,
no, off of
Well, it abuts-
Springs
yeah,
Fireplace Road, there's houses that are going to be
3 or
right on
4
the edge of this
residences
parking lot.
along the eastern property line.
They're actually not, sir. If you go back to page 3, the location map, you can see how far away those homes are, and they have backyards to the existing building. If you remember from the last presentation, we had a bad rendering because we took a rendering looking at the east side of the building that when we explained that view, you could never really get because
Yeah.
it would be in someone's backyard. So we've changed that view to be accurate from within our property. But page 3 of the location map shows exactly the relationship of
Yeah,
the
this is Springs
existing
Fireplace.
homes, how much yard there is between those homes and the existing building. They're not right up against the
Okay.
property line.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is. And as I recall, planning required a fence and some
Correct.
screening there, to prevent headlight trespass and so
Right.
forth in the
You can see
darker
all the
hours.
existing trees that exist on that property line on the 2 existing photographs on page 3.
Mhm,
And those are accurate in our renderings as well.
mhm. Okay.
Okay.
So I have a few questions I was wondering if we could review. Not necessarily in this order. What is we go back to the architectural drawings, like the drawing, yeah. So number 1, if we go to, you can go to the floor plan. Let's skip the renderings for now. Kind of the part, yeah.
Sorry about that. Coming up in a second.
Yeah, go one back. Okay. What is the area that is to the left of the building closest to the road, but is not part of the building? That is to the right of the first parking space at the top?
yeah.
Dumpster enclosure, is that?
That's the relocated dumpster enclosure that was asked to be moved from the neighboring side of the property to the 3 Mile.
Right, we didn't want it up against the residential. Didn't want it as close to the residences. I think that was.
So the thing that one of the primary things you see as you drive by is a trash enclosure.
It will be clad exactly the same as the building, which was requested by ARB.
So where is that on this rendering?
To the left, right, exactly where you're circling.
So that whole
Can you enlarge that a little bit?
area is a trash enclosure?
Right there, that wall.
That thing,
That is,
oh, okay.
okay.
That seems to be smaller on the rendering than it's
Yeah.
indicated on the plans.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
It's just a concern of mine that, and listen, I understand where where the request might have come from, but architecturally, I have problems with, typically trash is not put I understand being sensitive to neighbors, but also I think we need to be mindful of how this is viewed from the street, particularly looking down on something where we're looking down on trash. So that's one comment I have.
Do you mean from the second floor, Frank?
No, I mean from the road. We just had
Oh.
a discussion about how the road is elevated above the
Oh,
parking
yes.
lot
Okay.
somewhat.
Yes. I see
So
what you're
if
saying.
you're in an SUV looking down, I mean, who's to say
Yeah.
you can't, you're not looking at the
Well,
side of the
maybe we
trash
can ask
enclosure,
for
you're
it to have a
looking
lid on it or something so that it's not, I mean, I would think it would make sense because things blow anyway to have a lid on that container. It's my recollection, I may be incorrect, but that the planning board requested that the trash enclosure not be up against the residential, not be on the other side of the building because it would be that trash removal when the garbage truck when the garbage truck came would be noisy, often in the early hours, and that having all of that up against the residential properties would be a burden on the residences. So I may be wrong, but I think that's.
No, you're correct. Richard Whalen again. The location of that trash enclosure was discussed at length by the planning board.
Mhm.
They wanted that location. I think it's logical where they asked that they go. As Frankie said, it will be clad on the exterior, so it's not going to look like a trash dumpster. It will look like essentially an extension of the building. And it will be also landscape. What we're not seeing is there will be landscaping, to the extent we can put it on our property in that area.
Can you put a lid on it? Because
That's the only thing I'm not sure about. That would be kind of a technical question for the people who pick
Carters.
these up. I'm not sure if you would do that.
I've seen them with lids on them. I mean, they have to take the lid off your trash
Problem
can.
is
So
it may raise the height of it because your
I understand. Well, let's.
garbage truck's got to come in and lift the thing and pull it out.
Okay, so it's a dumpster. It's not a real can. Oh, okay.
So we get to see a dumpster from the road.
Yeah, I understand.
Right, but
Yeah,
a store this
yeah.
size is going to generate an enormous
Amount of
garbage.
trash. Yeah. So there's going to be frequent trash removal from such a
I
site.
mean, if you go to Red Horse Market, which is a similar situation, assuming this might be a food store, they have 4 or 5 rolling dumpsters that they're constantly hauling stuff out to all day. They take up a space half the size of where we are here. So there's going to be a lot of trash.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe we could consider that comment if there's some way to. I think Frank makes a good point. We don't want the building, we don't want it to be a monument to the garbage truck. We don't want to raise it up so high that it becomes another. I mean, I think Frank is right that architecturally it shouldn't be there, but I think that the impact on the neighbors overrides that concern, at least for me. And that if there's some way to cover it or find another, maybe there's a rolling top or something that can be, because we will see, he's right, that given that it's lower, as larger vehicles go past, that's the first thing they're going to see is the
lids. So that's.
Yeah, but I mean, it also.
I just think this hasn't been thought out. I just think that more thought needs to be given to it, how it's seen from the street, how when you're walking to the retail space potentially, or whatever it's going to be, and you look left and sometimes with trash spaces, guess what falls on the ground? Trash. So I can't say that I'm terribly pleased about this, but I've said what I needed to say. A big comment I have that, and I realize this is the third review of this, but really starting to dig in like the second floor, and we're asking about the massing and we're talking about the program. It makes me question, and I'd like to hear from the applicant, why do we have a colonnade here? The colonnade, if we go to the second floor, what it's doing, I think it's one more page. What it's doing, it's pulling the program of the office space further into the parking lot to create an overhang, a covered space, a buffer between the columns and the retail glazing. And I look at this and I wasn't privy to the conversations that happened with planning, but to me, it seems that you have however many feet wide this colonnade is that's pushing the massing of the building into the parking lot. And I see to the right and I see to the, so the right would be the east and then to the, or east, wherever, you know, so say to the north and then to the east, to the below those stairs. I see a lot of empty space. And so what it's done is the overall composition here is push this program further like into the street. And what it's also done is rotated the building kind of towards the street. I realize from a retail perspective that may be more successful strategy because you're bringing more visibility to the street. But it's just as we continue to work through this application, it does. You know, I'm thinking through like where other or do we have colonnades facing the street, like as something to scale. So perhaps the colonnade was meant to accommodate the office program, but it seems somewhat to the applicant's comment about why there's a lot of program on the second floor, that the program has created this colonnade.
Frank, it's very similar to 66 Newtown Lane across from the Stop and Shop in the Village. And it's also a place where they usually keep the shopping carts.
Everyone keeps assuming this is a supermarket. I'm going to stress that this is not large enough to be a supermarket. The applicant that came before me just explained they have a 6,000 square foot home. We have a 6,000 square footprint on the first floor. The name Trader Joe's was thrown around at one of the last meetings that we came to. Trader Joe's will not go in, because I designed them.
We're not
They
thinking,
won't
I'm
go into
thinking
a
of
space less than 10 or 12,000 square feet.
Citarella or Red Horse Market, that not a major grocery store, but a boutique grocery store. It's perfect for that. And you've set it up so it kind of looks like it's perfect for that.
Well,
I beg to differ.
that's okay. I mean, the use is not really part of our specific purview anyway, but I think that Frank's basic comment about, you know, our volume concerns and the colonnade, it has merit. So,
We're back to massing and scale, which I understand is difficult to get over. We've done in all of the samples that we've brought to you as far as the architecture of the building, including the first one with the hip and gable roofs, to set it back, to give the illusion of setting it back as it tiered higher. And we've done the same here. We're still trying to meet a program requirement that works with the performer of our client. We cannot diminish, as I started the presentation, by making the office or the retail size smaller for the dollars that he thinks he can create to do this actual work. If I pull the building back so that I don't have a colonnade on the south side, I would assume you'd prefer that the building actually grow on my property side into the parking lot, then back out onto 3 Mile Harbor Road. So if I pull that square footage off what we consider the front of the building facing the parking lot, the only place for that to grow would be what's now shown as office terrace to the west. So I would need to take this portion off front to come in line here, which is where the first floor is, and take all that square footage and fill that in here, which would then create a much more solid wall on 3 Mile Harbor, which previously we were told we didn't want to do, or to the neighbor to our north.
Well, I'm also looking, I'm looking, for example, with apartment terrace B, though I guess so actually this raises a question. Okay, so on the left side of this page, what is on the utility roof?
We're not that far. We have not released engineers at this point because we keep going around with ARB.
Is that to be enclosed, or is that, so that's where the condensers go?
We have not engineered the building with regard to MEP yet at this point.
Okay, so up there, that's a good point. To the right there, so where does all the this is a valid concern that was expressed in this meeting, a previous meeting. Where does the mechanical equipment for this building go? And I think in a house that's not as big an issue because you have smaller condensers, but you have a kind of an intense program of office and retail. So where would this go? Would this go on the roof there to the right?
It would probably go on the roof of the main building, which at one point when we had the Widows Walk, we had explained that that actually worked as a screening. So we're now going to use the building itself as its screening on the high roof.
I'm having trouble visualizing that. Could we go back to so the mechanicals are going to be on the,
Some, as I
Yeah,
mentioned, I don't
you
even know
have
what
it.
type of
Okay.
mechanical systems we're doing yet for this
Right.
building.
right? But in terms of the visual appearance, which is what we're meant to be assessing, there's a possibility that there will be protrusions on that roof that are related to the mechanical components.
Potentially.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Okay, let's go.
does anybody else have anything? Diane, did you want to contribute anything?
No,
Okay.
I think we have a dilemma.
Mhm. We do have a dilemma.
What's it?
Yeah, it is a dilemma. And you brought up the fact that this is a historically modest neighborhood called Freetown. Probably not so well known by people from outside of our community and even within our own community. But there's not far from this, there's a historic little house owned by the town that's called the Fowler House, which is a last remaining Montaukett home, and other sites like that are historically significant, even if they're not landmarked like this site is. I would wonder, this is the trouble I'm having with digesting, and the design is, I agree, is by far such an improvement. But I go back to that sort of modest neighborhood, and just the scale of things in that neighborhood, and this being still out of scale. I would also then wonder if once you get through this whole process, or before it even proceeds any farther, I'd be very, very interested in knowing if there's anything of historical significance on this property, and if there's a need for an archaeological survey to be done on this, given this location.
Well, planning board should be, that's part of the site plan process usually.
Ask about it.
But it's worth asking, but my hope is that planning board has reviewed that, or, is taking that into consideration, but we can make that, we can ask that question, because I think at this point, we'd just be giving comments to planning on this. And Chip, did you want to add anything?
Well, I mean, I think it's certainly better than what's there now, which is really a not maintained, really decrepit building on a decrepit site. So anything will be better than what's there. I think you made great headway in producing a building that's at least attractive to look at. It's a little big for the community, but at least it's in keeping with our community. I'm favorable about what you've done. I mean, could it be smaller? Sure. But what's there now, I drove by it 3 times today, is just atrocious. And part of it is that the owner does not maintain this building at all. And though he pretends he does when he talks to us, there's flower pots hanging on the side of the wall, and just a horrible, horrible situation. I hope for his sake and the community's sake that he maintains this building, if it's ever built, a little bit better.
Okay, well,
Oh, it's not a new one?
no.
There's the same owner. I
It's the
think.
same owner, but I don't think we need to, that's not part of our review, but I understand the point, because I drive by it myself. Frank, did you want to add anything further?
Yeah, I would say this rendering here, so this white band of, let's just call it this thick trim. So you've got this band between the first and second floor running across the whole thing, that trim board, but there's a very thick one below it, above the first floor windows, and it just doesn't seem to me, it almost looks to me a little left over. is there like a function to it, or I'm not in favor of it.
I will remove it for the next submission.
Thank you.
Okay. And let's just go through some, I think there was something on the one near the street. I had a similar comment about
Page
the
7 has,
banding.
yeah, page 7 has the same. I've just crossed it off.
Don't.
Yeah,
The one all the way on the right.
it's the banding on the left.
There's the garbage.
I'm not personally a fan of it, but
I think so. Some of them might be doors. I wanted to ask about that. Because
I'm confused by that.
I'm sorry, Frank, could you say that again, please?
This band.
oh, this white banding to the
Yeah,
left of the
okay.
main volume. you
Yes,
know,
yes. I see the, yeah, I take the point. Yeah, that
Scratching
would
that
be
off.
better, narrower. One question I had about and I think Esperanza shares this. Are there those doors that we're looking at on the first floor, the glass doors, or are those windows? Yeah, they have larger panes. They're not.
First floor, we're currently showing aluminum glass storefront. We don't know how many tenants there will be, 1 or 2 at this point. So we don't indicate on that rendering exactly where the doors are.
Oh,
For those windows?
So is it all just glass?
It's all underneath the colonnade is all
it's
glass.
proposed to be glass, and it's it will either be doors or windows depending on how the retail space is divvied up, I guess. Is that the idea?
Correct.
Okay.
But doors or windows, all glass?
Yes.
Modern, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I just wish the panes it was more consistent with the panes on the second floor. I think that would be more.
That doesn't work for retailers.
Doesn't work.
They don't like small individual paints.
Mhm,
It's going to be hidden away with the colonnade. You're not going to see it that much.
right.
Yeah, it just is, it's
If
a
I'm
very
allowed to keep
suburban
the
look.
colonnade.
I mean, I'll say, kind of contradicting what I just said. One benefit of a colonnade is, it does kind of pull the glazing of the storefront away into the building.
Okay.
The trade-offs.
At least it doesn't look like a little strip mall.
No.
No, I mean,
To me, it does.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think it.
High-end strip mall, nonetheless, a strip mall.
Yeah, that glazing jumped out at me
That's
in the
what
beginning
it's-
too. Yeah, I was just wondering about that because the top floor is compatible. The top floor is compatible with what I would
You just
expect.
mentioned the building on Newtown Lane, and that
Right.
doesn't
Mhm.
have all that glass, and glazing. It has larger windows,
And regular
Regular
doors,
doors.
actually. Yeah, that's true.
and it works.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
a solution like that, I would be
You-
more in favor of.
Right, maybe
this case.
consider the doors, it would be a more traditional door and as Esperanza is suggesting, glazing that would be, the bigger glass window and then have a more traditional door with the panes and so forth. That would help.
I mean, again, this is sort of more what I do, right,
Mhm.
with regard to retail. Part of our problem at this point now is we can't even go to leasing
Mhm.
because we can't promise any tenant what they're getting.
No, I
So some
understand
of
that.
will be worked out once
Right.
we know who the tenant
Right.
is. And so if we can reduce the amount of glazing,
Mm-hmm.
or it's somebody that doesn't need the glazing,
Mhm.
or actually asks us to eliminate it, we could have less. But we typically show it with the opportunity that a retailer can show their goods.
Okay, well, and signage and so forth would have to come before this board also, just FYI, any signs that would go in those windows. So, I mean, I want to, I don't want this to end on a terrifically frustrating note for you, even though I can sense that you're very frustrated. And I want
Not
to
for
thank
me,
you
not
for.
for me.
No, it's a
for
long
my client.
process. I understand. It's a long process. As I said at the beginning, can only offer you comments at this point in time because we wouldn't preempt the planning board site plan process, and you'll have a public hearing next week. And with any luck, we'll get some input from the public that'll help us in our decisions as well. I would urge anyone in the public that's interested in this project to come to the planning board meeting next Wednesday night,
April 12th.
April 12th, I believe it is, yes, at 7 o'clock will be the public hearing portion. because I don't think that we're going to be conducting a public hearing on this. You know, we have that power, but I don't think we're going to be doing that. It seems redundant to have one for planning and then one for ARB.
So-
Yes?
So just actually on the signage question, so if we were to approve this soon, or like at the point at which we do approve this, is the signage separate from like what we're approving? Like I'm wondering, so on this building, if there are two tenants, do we consider the fact that there could be 64 square feet of signage where it says tenant?
Oh, that's a good question.
Would there be two signs?
Yeah. What do you think, David?
Let me just,
And-
before David even answers the
Rick.
question, I just want to point out, the first floor can only have one tenant right now.
Oh,
We're not a multiple business complex.
Okay.
So we're allowed two uses. The downstairs will be retail. I
okay.
mean, theoretically, we could go back to the planning board, ask for a special permit for a multiple business complex. We're not doing that in the foreseeable future. So the downstairs retail presently has to be just all one
Oh,
tenant.
okay. Well, that's good to know.
Second floor would be offices. You could have more than one office
Mhm.
and treat it as a single use, but
Mhm.
we're only allowed two total uses, which is either,
Okay.
all office on the second floor, but
Right.
more than one, but only one retail tenant.
All right. Thanks. That's helpful.
Let's move this.
Okay. Yeah. Frank, did you have anything else?
No,
Because I'd
let's-
like to move on.
Let's move on.
Okay. All right.
Right, and we are permitted to have offices on the first floor.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. I
That'd be,
think
that'd be even better.
that'd be preferable
Well,
to
I'm
my mind.
alluding
Yeah.
to that. So.
Yeah, no, I
so
understand.
One of the ideas is if it was all offices, right, then we could eliminate some glaze.
Glass.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think that'd be great. Okay. Well, thank you and
Thank
good luck
you.
next week. Okay. All right. Health SOS, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-197-2-10.1. Thanks, Rick. Have a good holiday. Is Lily Mucci or a representative from Health SOS present? Or on the Zoom link?
LTV, is anybody waiting to get in?
No, I don't
Hello,
see any-
LTV.
We don't have anyone waiting.
Okay, I understood that someone was supposed to be here tonight, but perhaps not. Okay, we'll bank it and see if they show up. Next one, SHM Star Island LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-6-4-9. And this is for a sign, and I see that Will is here. Hi, Will, how are you? Good, thanks. This is my application. I have some photographs with this. Star Island, as you know, is going under, they're doing a lot of renovation work there. We saw an application a couple of weeks ago for some siding, but they'd like to put a sign. Oh, shoot, I don't have my phone, which had this math on it. Okay. Anyway, they would like to put a sign on this wooden structure, which is it's sort of depicted on the survey as a retaining wall, but it's not really a retaining wall. So could you just go through the photos that I sent, please?
Are these them?
I believe so. I sent, that looks familiar. You can see, yeah. Okay, this is the, the side of the sign. Pardon me?
No, they're dated today, so.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And then keep going. You'll see I have my tape measure. So it doesn't, this is not it's in a flower bed, basically. It's in a bed that was built up. So it appears on the survey as a retaining wall, but this particular structure is not part of the retaining wall. So those are the dimensions. So the only problem I have with this, I think that if you could just go through and then, yeah, thank you. That's how it looks when you're standing in the parking lot looking out to the road. And that would be the face of it where they would like to put the logo. But the application only accounted for the area of the logo and not for the structure. Pardon? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
The whole wall.
Correct. And I stupidly left my phone in the car, but I'm hoping someone can multiply 76 by 43 for me and come up with what that square footage is. But anyway, the proposal is for, where is it? 8.625 on the road, which is, these are not the right dimensions. And then there's a reception window sign, which is equals 8.25 square feet. So can you just enlarge that a little bit, please, Eric, so that we can see the logo, so people can see what's proposed? That it's that M down there, right? Right, Will?
Yes.
Yeah. The Gurney's is not on there any longer. It's been sold, as you know, and this is what they're proposing. I think the logo's fine. I have no problem with that. It's actually attractive and
Hardly notice it.
it's right. It's very, I think it's an elegant look. Yes, it's discreet and I think it's an elegant look. And then that'll go also on the, could you scroll through to show the building that it's meant to be put on? I wasn't sure which building this was meant to be. Is it the one, is that the one with the lighthouse structure behind it, or is this the other one?
Beyond, that's
Okay.
when you go
All
further
right,
up,
so it's
yeah.
just these two, right? That it wouldn't be on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the main lobby now.
Right. Okay. So it presently shows the grades. That's been removed. I took a picture of that today myself, but it's okay. We don't have to look at that. The basic problem I'm having is that the sign on the road, these dimensions are not correct. It would have to be,
What did you say the measurement was on that again?
it was 76 by 43.
26 by 40.
I think you're really close to 32 square feet.
Yeah, that's 22.67.
Okay.
And if you add the window graphic, which
Yeah.
was 8.25.
Yeah,
it's
then you should be good.
30.9.
Okay,
So we're still
great.
under 32.
That's great.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I knew it was going to be close, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to remedy that. So
We took this permit over like in the middle of it, so we're just kind of piecing
it's no
together.
big deal.
the whole
It's no
thing,
big
yeah.
deal, really. It's no big deal. So I'm with that amendment to the application in terms of the size of the sign, I'd like to, if anybody has any questions for me or for Will.
Uplighting?
I have
Oh.
just one.
Is there? I'm
question.
not sure if there was, it might be pre-existing.
Oh, uplighting. Well done. I didn't see that
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
A photo of it before the
Mhm.
other one?
Well, you can see it there, but
Oh, yep, there it is.
that may have been something Gurney's put in.
Okay.
You can also see the outlet too, in the photo.
Right.
Okay, good catch, David. Thank you. So I guess there it is. There's the light. Yeah. So we're not meant to do that. It's got to be
Right.
you know the drill here.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess you'll have to come back with another proposal for the light.
We could,
I mean, we're not proposing it as lit or anything. That's
Yeah,
just
okay.
pre-existing,
Can
so
we-
I'm not sure.
Can we approve it conditional upon removing the light?
yeah, with the understanding that it be removed.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve this. Frank, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did, which is those boards, go back to the previous photograph. So the boards, perhaps, I apologize if I heard that, if you said this, but are the boards going to be replaced? Or are you just going to put that over the existing? And if you do, I mean, you're going to sand that down? Are you going to, we don't want the legacy shadow of the Gurneys on that, right?
Yeah, I believe the plan was they were going to bleach it and power wash it before the new sign was
That makes
installed.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that the surface is more receptive to the new logo. Okay. All right. Well, that's a good question too. All right. Well, then I'd like to propose that we accept these two signs as submitted with the amended dimensions of this cedar structure and the not to exceed 30.9 square feet, and with the understanding that the sign will not be lit. We have a second, please.
Second.
What's that?
That light is going to be removed.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And that the light, okay, so let me amend it to say that the lighting will be removed rather than it won't be lit, that they'll
Yeah, I'll let
remove the
them know, and they'll
lighting.
have to
Yeah, they
remove
have to
their
remove the
grounds
lighting.
crew,
Yeah,
yeah.
if they're going to do lighting, they have to go about it a different way, and you can advise them on that, right? You know what the deal. Yeah. Okay. So may I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, good to go.
All right,
Thank you. Happy holiday. Thanks.
All
All right. Next up is Oh,
We're back in order, right?
we're back in order, I believe. Yeah. Ken Cornick, number 6, Suffolk tax map number 300-172-8-36. This is for a driveway gate on Meeting House Lane in Esperanza. This is yours. Is Mr. Cornick? Hello, how are you? How are you, Ramon?
Hello,
It's
how
good
are
to
you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to let
I'm here
Esperanza.
with my assistant too.
Well, hello, welcome. How are you today?
Thank you.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Okay, my name is Ramon, and I'm representing the owner of 96 Meeting House Lane in Maganset.
Okay, great.
And this is for an election driveway gate.
Right. And Ramon, what we'll do is we'll have Esperanza discuss the application, and then we'll ask you for comments, or you can answer any questions that we have. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, you did my job for me already.
There you go.
The application is for a proposed driveway gate. It would be at a height of 5 feet 6 inches and 15 feet 2 inches wide. Located, as indicated on this survey, approximately 25, excuse me, 25 feet from the road, with a call box nearby within the property line, excuse me.
Oh, dear.
Got a frog in my throat. There is an existing driveway gate, which is indicated also on the survey, and I think it says there that it's going to be removed. It's a 7-foot driveway gate. It's a little big solid wooden gate, but quite rickety, and it has its own call box there. There are also, and we could maybe go to my photos, there are 2 masonry pillars at the entryway. Those are indicated on the survey as being within the property line. I believe that the call box for this proposed driveway gate would be somewhere in the vicinity of the left-hand side pillar. So you can see that this is it's a flag lot, it's a long driveway. Now I have water, thank you. And you can't, I mean, the existing driveway gate is open, so obviously you can't see it, but regardless, it's about over 100 feet into this property, or into the driveway. Excuse me. In my view, I mean, I'd like to know from you or from the applicant the reason why there is a need to pull it forward to this, closer to the road.
To the road.
Because this is a really, it's Meeting House Lane. There's a picture of the existing driveway gate, and it's open.
Yeah.
It's a really fairly open, still open yards, and we're not in favor of.
Yeah.
And I know you're proposing a fairly open design, and it's 5 feet 6 inches, but I'm just questioning why moving it forward.
Okay, the why is because sometimes the people get into there without releasing is not where they're going. They have to go back again.
I drive in, people drive in.
Privacy.
Yeah,
most likely,
privacy.
and security that we're looking for.
But the thing is, these all houses around, they have the gates all the way to front. They even have it 15 feet. The house next to it, the 130, is really right there, next to the road. The house across the street is the same thing. We're trying to be a little more than everybody.
Than them, yes, but I'm still questioning why not, put it where the one that's there is.
Is insignificant. Is far away from the other.
So I'll just ask, because having walked into the property, I noticed that I think it's 2 different properties, but it's the same owner, same family, I don't know. And they have another driveway gate, and it's at that same location set back. So
yeah, we're going to build the other gate too.
Okay. So,
but the thing is this, because I tell them already, I don't need your permit if I build the gate 50 feet or more than 50 feet. And they say, okay, put the other one more than 50 feet because it's next to the neighbor. But the other one, we want other way to the street. And I say, we have to go over 20. And that's why we decide 25. And that's why we are here asking for a permit. The other one is going to be without permit. We're going to disable the big one, and put a new one. I believe it's 60 feet in.
That's on the
You
neighboring
mean on the
property?
neighboring property?
Yeah.
These
Okay,
people
well, we're
have two
just-
lots. They have
yeah,
this lot and they have
right,
this lot.
right.
So this is
But
where
he's
the other one is.
discussing the neighboring property.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to.
Which they're doing.
Driveway?
Pardon me?
Is it a shared driveway?
No, separate.
No, it's a private driveway, so it's
Right.
just for this property, and presumably the neighboring property is the same owner.
So the other property, they're talking about the next property,
So,
same owner.
so one thing, and I mean, I know it has all the proposed and mostly the existing. It's not an updated survey in my view, because first of all, there's fencing there that doesn't exist between the shared, sort of the shared lot line of the same owner. This actually says it's a 2-story proposed dwelling on this property, and it's actually a 1-story house. So I'm just.
Problems with the
There
survey.
are problems with the survey because it should reflect what
Exists.
exists. I'm not in favor of putting a driveway gate closer to the road on this street.
Oh, thank you.
I think that one of the problems that we all run into is that there are a lot of gates and fences that are installed without permits. So
Including these.
Yes.
And the masonry
Right.
pillars are not permitted either.
Right,
actually.
but just in terms of just trying to help the applicant understand that their comparison to other properties in the neighborhood, it's not clear or even certain that those other properties are built within the code, that they may have just been built the way your clients have done. And you're correct that if it's beyond 50 feet, you don't need a permit from, you don't need the approval from the ARB for that. But we are charged, and I read this at the beginning of the meeting, especially with gates and berms and walls and things like that. We're trying to keep an open vista. We're trying to make that these lanes are accessible, the views are accessible. I understand that there's a privacy concern and so forth, but I think that you could probably, and I understand too that people sometimes drive, they take the wrong turn, they've got to go all the way down. But I think you could achieve what you need to by recessing the gate a little bit, and then they just have to back out if they're, not in the right place. I take Esperanza's point here. I think the design of the gate is fine.
Oh, yeah,
I don't have any
we haven't
problem with
looked
the
at it.
design of the gate. It's got plenty of transparency. You've been before us enough now to make the right
This is
suggestion
all you're
there.
building now.
Yeah, we get it. And I think this is,
Way to build it even a little bit more into the property, more than 25, a little bit more, no.
What happened is this,
well, that's,
Fire trucks.
yeah.
Yeah.
that's what we're suggesting is to push it back more. Right.
But let me go this way, because I'm trying to, I always forcing my clients to take a permit. That's why you see me so often here.
Right. Well, we
I know a
appreciate
lot of
that.
people build amazing gates without permits.
Mhm.
They don't, they only charge the client, they don't know.
Yeah, I understand.
Sometimes they have to take away.
Right.
But the thing is, always I'm trying to push my clients to get the permits and do it the right.
And we
way.
appreciate that. We thank you for that.
You see the drawings, I make a lot of work to try to
Mhm.
to do something, meet with the codes with the town.
Right.
Because even we don't have here more than 5 feet, the gate really is not really tall. It's only 4 feet, 8 inches.
Right.
It's not, only I ask him for a little bit more for the horns on the sides.
Mhm.
But
For the
gate-
columns?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the columns,
Uh-huh.
just to maintain the structure of
Right.
of the gate.
I
But-
think we're favorably disposed to the design. I don't have any
Yeah,
problem
I
with the
know, but I
design at all.
mean, I'm trying to do this in order you can allow me to put
Oh, I see. Well, there's no quid pro quo. I'm sorry. You know, we can't trade one thing for the other. That's
Yeah,
not how it
because
works. Yeah.
Otherwise, I push 25 feet more, I don't need to be here.
No, I understand. I understand. I understand.
Well,
Go ahead. We'll say what you want to say. It's
no,
your
no, I mean,
application.
I was just going to say that the fact even that the call box is proposed next to a masonry pillar that isn't even approved is an issue. I mean, you know, technically, we could say you have to take those down.
Take the pillows down.
I mean, I'm not saying that's what you need to do.
can-
I'm just saying they're not on the property card. They weren't built with permission. They're approximately 56, I think, 56 inches high.
Yeah, I can.
And their girth
call
is
box.
big, and the call box would go there. So, you know, you're proposing something that plays off of a non-permitted structure.
Yeah. What I can do, if I get, you can give me a permit to put the gate on 25, and I can take the columns down and put the keypad there. Or put the keypad on the column.
Ramon, why don't you just build a 4-foot gate? We don't even need to tell us about it.
Yeah.
You're almost there with that
If it's a
gate.
privacy or like not letting people enter, then yes, a 4-foot gate would be
4-foot gate
just
should
as.
suffice.
Just
if
cut
that's
off the top
fine.
of that pillar
Yeah,
and
make
cut
it
off
4
that
feet.
little, you're almost at 4 feet
I'm
with
just-
that gate
yeah,
anyway.
I'm personally not
Yeah,
predisposed to
But
putting a
it's
gate
going
there.
to be 4 feet on the sides, it's not going to be 4. I would like to maintain the structure,
Well,
the
you-
horns.
Well, you're hearing that we don't want to
Columns.
do that,
Yeah.
but I'm giving you an alternative way to put the gate there as long as it's under 4 feet, the pillars and the gate.
Then you don't need our approval
Yeah.
at 25 feet is what he's saying, you know.
Okay, let me talk to my.
Okay.
Okay,
right.
Ramon, thank
All
you
right,
so much.
thank you. We appreciate your good faith efforts. Okay.
really do.
All right, next up is Jenny and Robert Vorhoff, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-172-4-23. This is 107 Atlantic Avenue. Chip, this is yours. Is Mr. Vorhoff? or
Jonathan Davis is here from Davis
Jonathan
Landscaping.
Davis. Ah, there we go. Okay, great.
So Eric, can you bring up my photos? There's,
Welcome.
Jonathan Davis, Davis
How are
Landscape
you?
Design.
so Jonathan, I'm going to give a little summary and then we'll turn it over to you. Okay. Okay, so that's the first one. That's a driveway gate that's built. Then down to the right, you see a pedestrian gate that's built. And keep going, Eric. That's the same driveway gate.
It's huge.
All built, brought to us by East Hampton Fence. That's the pedestrian gate. And then in the property, there's 2 moon gates. That's in the front yard, in front of the house. And the second one is on the side yard behind the front facade. Next one more, Eric.
I think that's it. So, yep.
Well, they're identical. Okay, so fine. So this is an application to approve 4 gates already built on a 9/10 of an acre property of a newly constructed house near the intersection of Atlantic Avenue and Bluff Road. The gates include a pair of driveway gates, a pedestrian gate in the front yard on the road, 2 moon gates, one in the front yard and one on the side yard. There are many issues with this application, so I called Jonathan Davis and we talked about it yesterday, and I reviewed the situation with him. First, there's an issue with the survey that we have. It's a January 23rd, 2023 survey. Does not show 3 of these 4 gates.
Oh, my goodness. How's that even possible?
It does indicate that there is fencing on the left-hand side of the property that's not on the property. So there's some survey issues that need to be corrected, but that's not really the main issue here. Third, the gates are substantially exceed code, though they are very transparent. The driveway gates are 7.5 feet tall. The posts are 7.5 feet tall. The pedestrian gate is 6.5 feet tall, with the corresponding post 7 feet tall. The first moon gate in the front yard is 7 feet 3 inches tall, with posts of 7 feet 8 inches. The second moon gate, which is, it looks like it's more than 50 feet back from the road, though I'd have to measure it. The second moon gate on the side yard behind the facade of the house is 7.3 with posts of 7.5. Jonathan told me the gates were installed by a previously by East Hampton Gates before Davis Landscape got involved with the project, though they are the applicants seeking to approve these gates. Atlantic Avenue is full of old homes and new homes. Some are small, some are large. There are some driveway gates on the street, but there's nothing on the scale of this. Most are 4 feet or 5 feet tall. I'll let Jonathan talk a little bit.
Thanks, Chip.
Yeah, so, thank you, Chip. So this is a property that has been renovated recently, and we got brought on board as part of the landscape renovation. And the driveway gate and the pedestrian gate that you see in this sheet here were installed by Riverhead Fence. We assumed those had been permitted, so we were unaware that there was any issue with them until the permits. The inspection took place.
Jonathan, why is there an East Hampton gate sign on the driveway gates?
East Hampton Fence?
You said Riverhead Fence.
Sorry,
Do you
East
mean
Hampton
East
Fence.
Hampton Fence? Okay.
So, and in the process of design development, we also overlooked the code, and apologies for that in the development of these moon gates. They have a significant deer issue in that neck of the woods. I'm sure anyone who has spent
Anyone
time,
who lives in East Hampton has a significant deer issue.
On Bluff Road, being next to the preserve, the Double Dunes Preserve there, they have a huge number of deer, and I spent most of the winter trying to keep them out, even with these number of gates. I don't know how they're getting in there. But one of the reasons for building taller gates, which were meant to be in conjunction with the taller hedges, and that front hedge is a very large hedge that we've actually cut down to from 12 feet plus down to 6 to 8 feet. The goal is to try and keep the deer out. That's the primary goal of this. And also the applicants have young children. The front yard is very close to the roads. This is not a quiet road that it used to be. It's a pretty busy road. People are flying up and down there. So they need the security. But beyond that, Chip and I discussed some of the issues with 3 of the gates, and we're very open to discussing ways to remedy the situation. The 4th gate, the moon gate that's around from the side of the house, is in fact close to 80 feet off the road itself. So I'm not sure that's necessarily part of the conversation, but they do abut or flank the vegetable garden, which is in the front, what would be the southwest corner of the property there.
Yeah, so so one of the issues with this application is the measurements submitted are all wrong. And Jonathan told me an intern was sent out to measure things. So this intern measured every gate at 6 feet high, which we know is not true. So this moon gate on the side, Jonathan, you wrote down it was 54 feet from the road, or someone wrote that down. I think it is closer.
It's 54 from the property line.
Okay, so that's more than 50 feet.
All of these, the things to remember about this portion of the road is the property line is set back 22 feet off the road.
Every road is.
Yes, correct. And then there are large street trees set along the road as well. So it should be taken into consideration. The visibility of these gates is really recessed into the hedging. It's set back off the road. It isn't something that jumps out. They sound enormous, but we're talking about a traditional house that really is set amongst the trees. The gate itself is really only visible when you stop and look straight back towards.
Right. So I think the moon gate on the side of the house at 7 feet is probably not going to be an issue for us, because once it's behind the front facade, it can more likely be up to 8 feet. But the main issue here is the driveway gates, which are
And the
substantially too
pedestrian
high.
gate, right?
The
Yeah.
pedestrian gate, and then we've got to talk about the front yard moon gate.
And also that they're not on the survey. I mean, we can't act on
I
it.
don't know how that happens. I
Yeah,
spoke
well-
to my assistant. She said we definitely put them in through to the building department. She said she put it through to Julie at the.
No,
ARB
we're
package.
not in charge of the survey. The surveyor is in charge of the survey.
Have an updated survey from January this year.
Right,
Yeah,
but we understand that, but your surveyor needs to go back in and put the gates on because they're not on there.
Right.
Were they installed
There is
after
an
January?
updated survey with the gates on it that
Where-
was supposedly submitted, but
We don't have it. So
Correct.
either way.
So we need to get that to you.
So
but
something more recent than January 23rd of
I
2023.
think
I see. Okay,
This was
that's
made-
not the one we
so
have.
the driveway gates are on this survey, but the
Okay.
other
Yes.
gates are not.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think we've given you a sense of what has to happen to these gates. They're too high, but we really can't do much until we get a correct survey.
So I think so from the client's perspective, they're not wanting this to run through into their season. They don't live here year round and they're
Right.
here for a brief period. So they want to make sure that they're not going to have a construction site for this season. So from their perspective, I think they prefer to have things removed and rather than putting them back in front of the ARB, depending on the timing of it all. So
I'm not sure I take your point.
well, so for
They'll
example,
remove the
if
gates.
we were to try and get
They'll
you a
remove
new
the
survey,
gates.
we're going to have to come back in a month's time, which would be the beginning of May, correct?
Right.
Well,
So
assuming we can get you on that quickly.
assuming you can get us on that quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to balance what's going to be the best course of action for the client so that they can.
Well, we can.
So the point being is, so
Yes.
just because we're not going to get resolution without the survey, is what I'm hearing.
Correct.
So if we come back with the survey, we're still going to then have to go through a process of what are we doing with these gates?
Right. I think the driveway gate is too big.
Okay.
I think that you have to do some mitigation work on that. That would be the driveway and the pedestrian gate are too big along the road.
Okay.
I read a whole thing. I don't know if you were here for it, but
He was.
gates,
He was.
yes. So historic and rural character, we're not trying, I understand the deer. I have deer in my own area. Everyone it's a big problem, but we can't just wall ourselves off. So that's, and it's an important point for us to maintain, especially in that, I know Atlantic Avenue well, and it's, there are nice vistas there. So we want to minimize
I
the
appreciate
impact
all
of the
work
gate.
you do. I think more of us need to be standing up to represent what this area was, because it's not that
Mhm.
anymore. I'm not sure this is necessarily the case. This probably may not fall under that domain, but,
Right.
but that being said, I fully understand what you're saying. The issue for this gate design, if we were to bring up the
So Eric, bring up the driveway gate. Let's
driveway gate.
So you see the vertical members on the bottom, Jonathan?
Yes.
That's probably where the cap is on those vertical members. That's probably about 4 feet. I mean, if you wanted to cut the top of the gate off where those squares are, I think you'd be well on your way, and you got to cut the pillar down too. The same thing with the pedestrian gate. If you cut the top of that off and brought the pillars down, I think we'd be very fine with it.
Well, I would appreciate more transparency, though. I mean,
It's very transparent.
is it open on the bottom? I can't see.
Yeah.
There we
They're
are.
all
Yeah,
just
yeah,
the
yeah.
gates.
Thank you.
They're
Yes, you're
extremely
right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
But I want to give you some sense, so if you do come back,
Right.
this is the direction we're going
Got a
in.
chance.
I'd like to see the drawings revised to show what we propose with the updated
Yes.
survey, and you could give us.
Yes.
That's always how we prefer the application.
Yeah.
And just going forward, if you're ever in this position again, you would expedite your process by bubbling out on, if it's not going to be approved, what you might propose to remedy it. And then, we might have been able to approve it tonight. So.
Yeah, just as far as I'd seen, this gate has been here for many years. and-
Yeah,
and we
that doesn't make it a legal gate. Yeah.
I think I recall also one of the pictures showing the call box. It seemed like it was outside the property
Oh,
line.
okay.
I'm not
That
sure
needs-
if that's
yeah.
reflected on the
don't-
survey.
Are the potties still in the right away?
I don't think there is a call
Property.
box.
Was
Again?
there not a picture?
In the right
of
away?
that?
I don't believe there's a vote. It's no.
There's no
longer
call
constructed.
box?
I don't think
Complete.
Eric, can you bring up the picture of the driveway gates?
And that was a
Thinking
question
of
for
the,
the
I think
the,
you're
uh,
thinking
builder.
of the.
Yeah.
Oh,
right
there it is.
Oh, you're
yeah, so
right.
it's in the
Right, you
of
are.
way. Yeah.
Okay, so the call box needs to be pushed back because that appears to be in the right of way, and it should be depicted on the survey.
Okay.
We'll send you a follow-up letter with these details and the recommendations so that you can kind of do your
So
checklist.
the only thing we haven't addressed is this moon gate in the front yard. It's over 7, it's in the 7-foot area.
You said it was like 80 feet.
No, there's 2 of them.
Oh, I
This
see.
one is in
Oh,
front.
that's
This
within
one's in the
our
front yard.
jurisdiction, yeah.
And just to give him some
Right, and
guidelines,
that's-
would we
So
think about
not-
this?
Not knowing where it is exactly.
It's here. Where's the front of the house?
This is the front.
It's right here. It's right here.
Oh, toward the garden?
Yes,
Toward the little
it's
grove,
right here.
yeah.
And then the other one is back here.
I
So
see.
would we approve this gate in the front facade of the house here, this moon gate?
At 7 feet.
Yeah,
plus.
I don't know. I mean, you could just take the top of it off, Jonathan.
Well, I was thinking on this
Yeah,
design.
and then
we
you
could
don't
start
even,
It's a half moon.
and then you don't need our
with a
approval.
full moon, but just
Yeah. It'll be a
lower
half moon.
Okay. So I just wanted to give you an idea where we're headed. So if you
again, I mean,
Yeah,
like,
it's a good suggestion.
I'm really, so if we were just to remove the gates,
you could do that also,
that would be an easy option too. for
You
the
could do
clients.
that.
I think.
Yeah.
that-
as long as you don't put them back up. up afterwards.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll be
These are
back.
yours.
if that's okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks,
All right,
Jonathan.
thanks very much. Okay, next up is Tony and Claire Florence modification. I think this is our third time with this. I'm hoping 3 is the charm. Is your name Tyler? Tyler, could you just remind me of your last name, please?
Robot?
Okay. Welcome, Tyler. This is Diane's. I think we'll do these separately, I guess, even though it's the same property, and Diane will lead the discussion, and then hopefully we'll be able to move on this tonight. This has been
Well, yes,
a long time
I
coming.
feel that that it was a situation of numbers, basically.
Right.
And they have resubmitted to us extensive drawings and details, and these pool houses are now falling, pool house A is now falling just short of 200 square feet.
Thank heavens.
Right. And but they have given us extensive drawings and details, and the pool house A, this one in question now, is built, and we have the cut sheet of the light fixture and the wiring. You can see the pool house A is built where that white big truck is, that's where the mirror image pool house B, which is the next application, will be. I'm not like a genius mathematician, but it seems to me that everything is in order.
Okay, well, the problem that we had was that the initial application was the measurements were incorrect.
Yes, there was a
yeah.
November, and then they came back in January, and
Right.
it was corrected, but we didn't have the same numbers that you had. And now it seems to me that everything has been checked and double checked and submitted properly, and it seems to me to be no reason to question anything any further.
Okay, because one of the things that we had to do, oh man, I'm really confused about this now, because we had to modify the original approval, because the original approval was for 175 square foot pool house, because it was measured from the interior, they didn't include the
the walls.
The exterior walls were not part of the calculation, which is why, and then we went through a couple of contorted,
These are the
things.
latest
So,
drawings, and
right. But I'm just wondering if we need to modify it now that we have a correct well, we didn't have the right, we modified it, and then we rescinded the modification. We did that 2 times because it's been insane.
So you have no resolution, no updated resolution?
No, because they never submitted that. We didn't know what they were saying it was 200 square feet, but we didn't have the data saying it was 200 square feet. So they've now submitted that, and the measurements, one assumes, are correct. But does this mean we now modify that original approval? Someone help me here, please, because we had original approval for January 13th, 2022. This was one of my very first applications. I remember it. It was
before my
I thought it
time.
was so
Yes,
easy. But it turns out that this was the pool house was totaling 175 square feet. We've made no approval since then. We approved and rescinded because we were trying to be helpful. But it turned out that the plans were not,
remember.
they weren't compatible with what the approval was. So I think if the plans are now compatible, David, is our role here to modify that approval and then approve the pool house B? Because is that what we're doing, a modification for pool house A?
Probably have to do with the reference to correct date of the plans, right?
I'm sorry.
So actually, we approve a modification.
The
correct date of the plans. Whatever date the plans are that are correct, the resolution needs to reflect that.
So we don't have to modify the original approval?
No, I think that's what we're doing is we're approving the modification for Pool House A.
Okay, so it just has to reference the correct date of the date of the corrected plans. That's our modification. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so Diane, you want to make a motion?
So I make a motion
To approve.
to approve the modification of the original submission with the with the updated plans that were received by us on February 23rd, 2023.
Okay. And reflect 199 square foot pool house. Okay.
Yes.
For
and
Pool House A.
Reflect Pool House A that is meets all of our requirements.
Okay, great. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think we've done it. Okay.
There's one.
So Pool House A, yay. All right. Now, Pool House B.
Okay, Pool House B is a mirror image of Pool House A. It is unbuilt, but it is purported to be built according exactly to these specifications.
Okay.
And unless there's any other questions,
Okay. We'll reference.
I would make a motion to approve this application as submitted.
Right, referencing plans I received February 23rd,
Referencing
2023.
plans
Okay.
received on
And may I have a second, please? Second.
Tyler, would you like to say
Second.
anything?
All
You've
in
been waiting here
favor?
all day.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Tyler, do you have anything for us? You just wanted to like
Just
witness
thank you.
this event, right? Okay.
Yeah.
You just want to get out of here as
And
fast as you
hopefully you're
can.
not called back for
Yeah.
any kind of
All right.
weirdness.
Well, it was nice getting to know you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, hopefully don't see you for a little.
Yeah, well, cross our fingers. Okay. Thanks very much. Okay, now next up, sorry. What? Oh, Health SOS, they're not here.
Never came.
They never came. They didn't zoom in.
LTV.
I don't know. LTV, can you check and see if Health SOS is, they were allegedly coming, right, Nora?
I had heard no,
waiting
that they couldn't.
Lily Mooch.
It was back and
And
forth a
then
bunch of times.
told me they
Yes.
might,
Yeah.
so-
So they didn't.
Say again?
Postpone that application then? just to
Yes,
hear?
thank you for saying that. Yes, we're going to postpone the Health SOS application for a sign, which is, oh my gosh. Number 4 on our agenda, Suffolk County Tax Act number 300-197-2-10.1, to a time when the applicant can participate. Now we have a C of O as our last item of business here. Number 11, the Joshua and Eve Weiner Revocable Trust, Suffolk County Tax Act number 300-200-1-2.1. Esperanza, this is yours.
Yes, so this 66 Wainscott Hollow Road is an approval from January 2021 for a residence garage courtyard cabana as per plans dated January 28, 2021. It's a one-story, 6,225 square foot house with a 3,600 square foot lower level, a garage at 550 square feet. And Eric, if you want to just scroll through the pictures, that would be great. Covered patio, 870 square feet, 110 square foot covered porch, 130 square foot porch, and a pool house of 100 square feet with a 485 square foot pergola. So I've watched this this project with interest and some dismay. The materials that were approved as per the resolution were black metal roof. Oh, yeah, there we go. An aluminum clad chimney to match the roof, black window trim, painted Benjamin Moore space black, red cedar rain screens, board foam concrete, and then 2 different lighting fixtures, tech lighting LED fixed downlight, and a Bago wall luminaire sconce. when I visited the property, what I found was that there has been one of the things, the main things that I think was, if I recall, and I believe was part of the submission from the January 2021 approval, there were louvers that were proposed and based on the comments made by this board that would be added to the east and west gable windows. This is the west gable. And then on the front road-facing gable, there'd be similar louvers. And if we could always look at I don't know if you have the plans, but I have those, and those horizontal slats louvers were on there. And then the other main thing also, that would be the major thing that would not comport with the resolution for the residence itself. As you can see on this, the gable reflects the louvered area and the gable area at the top. So that's not present. So based on that, I would say that this is not ready for the CO. But I would also point out that on that resolution, it stated any fences, walls, and gates indicated on the plans are not included in the approval. And the whole property has been fenced fully already. With varying heights. The front yard fencing is at a total height of between 91 and 96 inches, which includes about 24 inches of metal posts. This actually, I took a picture of this because this was, I don't know if some of you may not be familiar with this. This was an old potato barn. The property owner and the architect based the design of the house on the original potato barn foundation, and portions of that foundation are visible here. This is what the potato barn looked like. It seems like they cut down part of that foundation at the front where the door is. But I also, in the plans, it was always referring to an existing retaining wall. And from what I can see, that retaining wall was actually replaced, and not necessarily in kind. I think it's the concrete foam.
Is that what
That's the new one?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the entrance down by those boxwood?
Well, yeah, I mean, the plans indicated that they would keep this open and there would be a tree planted in this courtyard and it was all going to be kept very open. As it is now, I mean, work is still underway, but they've actually just jammed large planters in that opening for privacy, I suppose. So it kind of
defeats the purpose.
Counters the original purpose. But there's all the fencing and the hedges, which my recollection is and this was Edmund Hollander that was present, and these were Zoom meetings, and I remember requesting rather fervently that they not screen the property with so much hedging and try and keep the vistas open, because this had been a really significant view shed for Wainscott. But they've proceeded to hedge it and also fence it with, so the side yard fencing is at 6 feet plus 20 inches additional, so total height 92 inches on the sides. And the rear yard is actually fenced with, this is the side, and the rear yard, which faces an agricultural reserve to the west, past this pedestrian gate, which is also above 4 feet. It has this agricultural fencing all along the rear yard, and I presume they're going to be planting there as well. There's a lot of planting going on currently. So anyway, but as far as the actual resolution regarding the residents, the gable windows and the louvers are missing. So
So knock it down.
So it's not ready.
Okay.
All right.
Ready.
So we're not going to do that one. We'll send them a follow-up letter with these details so they can make the proper changes. Okay, the next, we have 2 resolutions that are being signed tonight. DAPL LLC Bonfire Coffee House. Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-171-2-6. And then Cranberry Dune Tract 1 and 4 LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-189-5-10.5. I want to thank everybody. I thank this hardworking board. Thank Nora Jacobs for filling in for our Julie, who had to be out again today. Nora did a great job. We had a crazy lead up to this meeting today.
Does Frank need to sign these resolutions?
And I don't think so. They'll pass without, if he's not here, I don't think he
Okay,
can
okay.
sign them. I had the same problem when I was here last time, wasn't here last time. Thank you, Eric and David, for your counsel, and thank this board, and happy holidays, everyone. Frank, get well soon. Hope everybody in your universe is improving, and enjoy your holiday. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
And may I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor? Okay.